Well, here goes, no, there goes the Daverhood. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the COVID States of America, where we are doing the weekly Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the stream with yours truly, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, as almost always, and all of you at home, hopefully catching us on Facebook, and we've been doing it kind of differently the last few weeks, where we're starting on Zoom, and then that goes into Facebook in a very gentle way that allows us to do the interviews a lot of the times now on video and even video live, which is really, really cool. Oh, we have an unstable internet connection. Isn't that marvelous? So I'm hoping you're enjoying. Nothing I can really do about that, but at least we're going. We're going. Nah, we're in decent shape, I think. It is our 745th episode of this program, and we're going to be calling it ALP Wanted. Yeah, ALP Wanted. I'll explain that. I'll explain what this show is. I'll explain all the stuff we're going to be doing on it, as we usually do, after I play, of course, our regular opening music.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. There goes the neighborhood. And there was much rejoicing.
Didn't your meds kick in yet?
Yeah, David Lefter is here. He's a Long Island arts guy. He's got his own radio show.
I want you all to really enjoy a wonderful program done by a fine artist.
A glorious thing of unparalleled beauty.
Dave's Gone By. Dave is one of my very favorite broadcasters, so keep on listening to Mr. Dave.
Well, as I said, there goes the Daverhood. It's just after 9 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Time, here in the Daverhood, where we are doing the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the stream. So here's the deal. It's a mix of humor and talk and music and interviews and all that kind of cool stuff. We've been doing it since October of 2002. Swear to God, it's been that long. It's been 17 and a half years that we've been doing this virtually every week. And now we are actually doing it virtually every week for all these years. 744 previous ones of these in the can, which is really painful. And now we're on to our 745th called ALP Wanted, because we're going to have in the Daverhood a bit later a fellow podcaster, someone named Greg Alprin. A-L-P-R-I-N.
It's like Alprin, but no huh.
Yeah, it's like Alprin without, and this is one of the weirdest parts, because I've been going back, now that I'm home with COVID and quote unquote nothing to do.
No, you don't have, don't say you're home with COVID.
Oh, I'm sorry, home during, you're right.
Please edit that.
A home during.
You're home during sheltering in place.
Exactly, yeah.
I forgot some words, honey.
I'm sheltering in bed. I love it. I'm all day, most of the evening, except I have to get up to pee, and I'm trying to work out a way where
Your big activity was doing WhatsApp with, a dear friend and sister. That was your excitement yesterday.
Oh, that was fun, doing a WhatsApp.
And you didn't even put pants on for that.
Yeah, I didn't even have to sit up. I was still in bed, camera going. So I'm out of bed now. I'm actually sitting down. I put on a shirt, which is rare for me. I don't do that during the week now.
You did a lot of manscaping. Look at that.
Yeah, look at this. If you had seen me the last 5 or 6 weeks, I was trying to go for the whole David Letterman, Grizzly Adams look, and then the hair was going all over. But what happened was, I was okay with it. I was digging the beard and feeling what it might be like to have a real, like a beard and stuff, and just letting my hair go.
You saw Ed Asner as Chris Kringle and Murdoch, and you got freaked.
Yeah, that could be it.
Ed Asner freaks people.
But what happened was, it wasn't that. It was my hair, which I thought, okay, if I let my hair just grow and grow, it'll be kind of cool. I'm never going to get hair here again, ever, unless it's manufactured. But I thought down the sides and stuff, I'd be more bushy, I'd get a nice thing going. And all that was giving me was like Dr. Abramowitz back in my elementary school.
What does that mean? Is that a drink?
No, Dr. It's a Jewish version of Dr.
I'd like a Dr. Abramowitz.
No, he was the well, not the CEO. He was the principal of my elementary school.
My primary school was so corporatized, we had a CFO.
That's right. Nowadays they would be the only way to keep
We
schools
had
going.
a marketing person and a communications director for preschool.
No, but if you know, actually we had Mrs. Votkin on a year or so ago. She was the second or third in command. She was under the vice principal. She was somewhere in the hierarchy back then, and we had her on just like a year ago. She's still alive and well, which is
A lot of
wonderful.
your teachers tune in.
A couple, well, from UNC they do. I don't know. Yeah.
Your office mate.
Oh well, yeah. But I'm talking. That was elementary school. That
so
was
cool.
amazing. That's okay. And Dr. Abramowitz has been long dead, so I can mention his name. But we all see him, and you know what? He was probably younger than I am now, but back then he looked about 90 years old. And he was bald. He was Jew bald, which is what Jewish people get, you know. But he refused. He wasn't going to shave his head entirely. He did the thing that Jews do. He thought, hey, you know, yeah, okay, I'm bald here, but nobody's going to notice if I grow.
Like Simon and Garfunkel, who's the one, you know?
Garfunkel.
Yeah,
He's got the Garfunkel head. Yeah. And he had it back then. And what happens is it sort of grows, this part of the hair grows into horn-like things. And it just grows out and he looked like a big old owl. And we call it was Owl Head. That was one of the nicknames we had for him.
We had a woman, I can't say it, but she used to, I never smoked, but I was in the bathroom a lot. I always had, you know, to pee.
Yeah.
And she would come in my high school and she had that bra, like a Madonna bra, and I called her.
Oh, well, actually, nobody could have heard that. Say it again.
I can't say
Can I say it? Torpedo Tits?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that was my nickname in junior high school. I don't know why. But he had the owl head. You saw him, and he physically had the round face and kind of big eyes, and he looked like an owl because he had this hair growing like this. And then I looked in the mirror yesterday morning, and I was like, oh, no. I've become Dr. Abramowitz.
Now you look very tight and sexy. Look
Yeah.
at you.
So I was like, that's it. And I was thinking about shaving the head completely, but I just can't go there.
No, don't do it. Don't do
Would I
it.
really? I mean, I might look like a chemo patient
Please
for a
don't
week.
do it. Please don't
All
do
right,
it.
why?
No, you're not going to get no loving.
But if I did it, wouldn't everything sort of grow in then evenly?
I don't know, because I won't look at you.
There you go. So instead, I did a self-grooming hair shortening thing, and I took the beard way down back to where it was 2 months ago before all this craziness started. And I think it looks pretty good. Hope you enjoy. I still feel when I do this, there's part of me that feels like marine and part of me that feels like newborn chicken, because I got that fuzzy head thing,
in my neck.
and it goes. Boop, boop, boop,
Oh,
boop,
somebody
boop.
wants to comment on your hair.
Oh, here's someone who has a lot more hair than I do. Different kind of hair. Might be an old lady because he has blue hair everywhere.
Racist, ageist.
That's like how Cookie Monster talks.
Photobomb. Photobomb. Give me Oreo cookie.
Thank you. Hi, Cookie. How you doing?
Not
Cookie's got hair in his mouth. What's he been doing? He's been in Cookie Lingus, I think. Anywho, where the hell was I? So I was talking about my hair. So that's why my hair looks, human, normal again. And I gave up the mountain man. I'm not having to see anybody except folks at the supermarket kind of look. And that's why I look this way today. So we'll talk Corona, we'll talk everything that's going on, but let me tell you what's going to be on the show. So Greg Alprin, who co-hosts a podcast that he co-founded with Nick Scapoletti, I believe is the man's name. He's a stand-up comedian, and they have been co-hosting this podcast that's been weekly. I think they've been doing it daily during COVID, actually, but it's a lot of interviews. It's interviews with kind of interesting people that really run the gamut, a lot of entertainment people and stand-up comedians, and they had Larry the Cable Guy on a few weeks ago. Kind of neat, and there is a fun podcast. It's cute questions, fun questions, real actual conversational stuff. And they got like morning zoo folks, even though one of them is a comedian. And you kind of want to check it out. And I was drawn to it just because the title of their podcast is The Mangina Dialogues, which is kind of, I know, but it's not like they're doing a male version of Eve Ensler's The Vagina Monologues. It's just what they decided to title their podcast. So we are going to have what he calls himself DJ,
DJ Smooth Silky.
close, DJ the Gregalicious.
People,
Yeah.
white people should not say
No,
they're DJs.
they really should. Although you might say white people shouldn't rap.
Oh, Corrupt. I like Corrupt.
Oh, not only that, who are we watching?
My end rhyme, yes. Socks and locks and rocks on socks and socks and locks and locks.
There's this guy who's been doing, that we saw on YouTube. This guy has been taking old Dr. Seuss, well, they're all old, Dr. Seuss books, and putting their rhymes to Dr. Dre's beats. And he does a really good one with Fox on Socks, like, Fox on Socks and Locks and Rocks, and yes, for Mr. Doxer.
You told me that it's illegal to copy to...
Well, no, what happened was, I'm sure
Yeah.
he might get a beat down from the Seuss people,
It
because
should be copyright and lawyers and contracts and torts. They'll make you unhappy and you'll crap your shorts.
but I got a lawyer named Mr. Schwartz. But no, and what happened was 20-something years ago, there was a DJ, an actual radio
Yeah.
disc jockey, who decided to take Dr. Seuss books and make Bob Dylan parodies, as if Bob Dylan were doing Dr. Seuss songs.
Green eggs and ham.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I am Lord Bacall.
Yeah. No, he actually did. Like, they were actually really good. They go on forever, like 9 minutes long, because he does the whole book. But they're excellent. I think he did Green Eggs and Ham and the Snacks or something like that. The County of Zacks and the Prinny of Prax.
We didn't do a lot of...
And Green Eggs and Ham is great. He does, and it's all sort of Blonde on Blonde and Highway 61 era. So the musicianship is great. It actually sounds like Bob Dylan music of that era. It's fantastic. So I put out kind of an EP of this years ago. And it wasn't Bob Dylan who went after him. It was the estate of Dr. Seuss. It was that you can't broadcast, you can't put this on the web, you can't.
Yeah, but that's what I like about my Agatha Christie. Her estate's badass. Like, you gotta, even for me, like, they take the books that I do and they PDF them and put them online. That's not right. I need my royalties. So I understand. It's like artist rights. I understand it.
Yeah.
You have to control your product. Like, don't take my product and not give me money. This is capitalism.
Correct.
Give me the monies.
All right. I mean, it is fair, but then again, sometimes you just want to create something and not have to worry every 2 seconds. Look, I'm not just doing your thing. I'm doing a parody. I'm taking 4 seconds of your thing. There's got to be a cool middle ground and a reasonable one. It's the reason websites and artists will pay a lump sum every year to ASCAP and BMI for the rights, so they don't have to worry. So that there's a million songs that they can pull from or play on the interwebs or on an internet radio station that they're paying for. But then what do you do with all these independent artists and all these little artists? I mean, you have to go to their website, make a little deal, say, hey, can I use your song? And one of the most boring, unfulfilling parts of a job that I hated. Well, I used to work for
Locks and Socks and Rocks and Pops.
No, I used to work for a literary agency down on Astor Place in New York. I did it for a few months until I was laid off. Jerk.
You're not bitter.
No, well, he's dead. He's the only good thing about it, or the only bad thing was I found out he was dead years after he died, so I never got to celebrate. But the guy was my big boss. But anyway, in this place, it was a literary agency, and I was going to be kind of a trainee. I was low-level totem pole stuff. So I was sending out a lot of rejection letters to writers and skimming through like the first 2 or 3 chapters of books to see if they were any good, which was something of the more interesting part of what my job was back then, except half the books were sci-fi, which was not my genre. So I was useless. I was lost within 3 pages anyway, whether it was good or bad. But
my dream job would be to do that for mysteries. I would love it. Like, just to be
you would have gotten into it.
I'd be a good editor, in a press, because I've written a lot. I would love it.
But one of the things that we had was also dealing with rights issues for writers. So we had people like Alvin Toffler, who wrote Future Shock. And we had, you would have liked it, Tony Hillerman. I'm not a mystery guy, but I read all the Tony Hillerman books because I was working there. He was part of that literary agency, was under their umbrella, as was the estate and the work of Ogden Nash, the poet. So every time somebody wanted to use an Ogden Nash for like candies, dandy, liquors, quicker sort of thing, they would have to come through us. They should have come through us, asking permission.
Did they have people actively searching for that? If people were using it, or you just had it was more passive?
Well, this was pre-serious internet. This would have been, there were computers, except we weren't using there. We were actually using typewriters and carbon paper. We actually would have 3 copies of a thing that we would type up, and then one sheet would be on yellow and go here. And this was like in the 90s. There were computers then. There were networks then.
I believe they had,
Yeah, but this is old school. This was it was a literary agency starting in England, going back 100 goddamn years. And so one of the main facets of my job was going through when the mail came in, when they wanted permissions requests, specifically for the Ogden Nash estate. And would be like, can we please, we're school, and we want to use this poem in this fashion. Can we please have free right to use it? Or telling them, yeah, here's, do you want to put it in a book, in an anthology? It's $50, it's $100. Some type of letter, send it. I didn't last in that job a whole long time, let me tell you. But so that is the whole rights thing with music now too. So the guy, the DJ, who did Dr. Seuss songs back in the day, got in trouble with the Seuss estate because he was reading these whole books, albeit in the context of doing them as Bob Dylan songs. And now I wonder if this guy who's doing Dr. Seuss to Dr. Dre tunes is going to get in the same problem, or if he cleared it with the estates first. Either that, or he will get a cease and desist because now he's going viral on the interwebs. But anywho, I hope we're going viral in your hearts, ladies and gentlemen, as we do Dave's Gone By every Saturday from 9 until noon or thereabouts. So I was telling you that Greg Alprin is the guest on the show. He's a podcaster of the Mangina Dialogues. But the weirdest part is, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we've done 744 previous episodes of this program. Nearly all of them have been saved. Nearly all of when we brought them to church, we baptized them.
Wow, take me to church.
So let
me just yell out random things.
They're listenable, they're available on our website, davesgoneby.com. From the very first episode back in 2002, to the 500th episode, to the 600th episode, to last week's episode. They're all there. And most of them are in really, really good audio quality. The last 2.5 years are video as well. It's great. It's this free archive that you can all look at. But I've had to go through over the past few weeks because we had a lot of dead links and things weren't working properly and the audio wasn't playing. So I've had to go show by show by show.
You love it.
No, it's very, I mean, I love it sometimes, but it's really monotonous because I've got to re-upload an audio thing and wait and post it in another place. It's a real pain, and I've been delighted that I've had these past 2 months to do that as much as I can during my day because I don't have to schlep into work. So the weirdest part.
You just reminded me I have the gym later.
The weirdest part is that where I stopped, because I've been going backward from the most recent show back and back and back and back. So we've gone back to about the 497th or 95th or 94th episode from our 744. So we've done quite a few. And on that episode, the one that I got to going backward was the one where my old friend from New York University, Phil Halprin,
he's lovely.
a screenwriter and a film cinematographer who's out there in California, and I hope he's doing really well. Phil Halprin, that I've known for 30-something years, was a guest on the show, yeah.
How come when we watched The Tiger King, they didn't have Siegfried and Roy on there? They have lions and tigers, too.
Let me get to, because, yeah, we'll talk about that. But, again, why do I hear, I'm hearing a snake. That's our heat coming up.
Sometimes I'm working and I'm into something, and it sounds like, it's a rattler.
And this it isn't doing that hard banging.
Honey, I'll take care
And speaking of hard banging, are you feeling that again?
Hold on.
There you go.
There you go.
But how odd is it that out of the many, many hundreds of guests that we've had on the program, the one that this is completely coincidental. The one that I've most recently been retinkering with and re-uploading is Phil Halprin. And our guest today, which was just booked 2 days ago, it was Greg Alprin. No relation.
I love Edith and Phil. They're great. They were great when we were out in
Oh,
California years ago.
yeah. So we're going to have a new friend of the neighborhood, Greg Alprin, talking about his podcast, The Mangina Dialogues, on Dave's Gone By. Yeah.
You know who I met when I was in the yard and hallucinating?
No.
Philip Halprin.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yes.
Did you any relation to Gillip Dalprin?
And Philip Halprin.
Yeah.
And Philip Calprin.
Really?
And
wow.
Philip Salprin, too.
No, not Philip Salprin.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
He's the least favorite of the family.
So you want to talk a little bit, because Joyce and I were talking about this last week. We came late to the Tiger King explosion.
Because the first thing I saw was that tiger ripping off the guy's arm and them saying, like, oh, we need a tourniquet. And not for nothing, I don't want to see people mauled to death. I couldn't watch Amores con Perros or Amoros de Perros, Love is a Bitch. I couldn't watch that. I couldn't watch The Life of Pi. I mean,
you watched it, but you didn't want to.
Traumatizing.
Yeah. I can't even watch someone go indoors from Sbarro's to Sears because I don't want to see somebody mauled. That's comedy. That's the kind of comedy we do right here on Dave's Gone By. But yeah, no, so if you haven't heard, Corona's latest victim last night was Roy Horn, the guy who was half of Secret. Do you think his tombstone's just going to read and Roy?
I think so. But how come they didn't get them for tigers? Because they use them in a show with fire and...
I don't know. First of all, they may have just 2 or 3.
Maybe they got rid of them.
Yeah, well, after that...
Who was mauled? The one who died was the one who got mauled? And he was like kind of, well...
Oh, yeah, the tiger tore him to pieces.
Oh,
as a tiger would. Or as Tiger Woods, you know, if he uses a club.
Tiger Woods did it with his car. Didn't he kill someone with his car?
I thought he just wrapped his car around a tree. I don't think he killed anybody. No. But, yeah, Roy Horn, Siegfried, and Roy. I mean, it's kind of going down the list now. I mean, first Terrence McNally, which was really, really sad. And then, you know, a writer, colleague, friend of mine, Bill Wolf, he died. And then it's like Roy Horn, the tiger fella. But anyway, and so how are we on that? Oh, you're asking just how were they able?
Yeah.
I would imagine they had animal rights activists just checking on them monthly.
Really?
To make sure. Well, to make sure.
I don't know if they have any sort of like agency that does animal checking. I mean, do you know that?
Well, I mean, there's Bill Berloni. He's the animal trainer for Broadway, but he works with dogs and cats and the occasional horse.
If I worked with animals, I wouldn't call my name Baloney.
Oh, yeah. But no, I don't know. I don't know how they get along. How is it that anybody still has wild cats? I mean, little wild cats for personal use or even in a home zoo.
I told you so years ago, my dad used to race stock cars, and there was one guy they knew that had a tiger or lion. I couldn't go with them because I used to go to the stock car racing, but when they would go visit the man, I couldn't go.
I mean,
why would you get a lion?
It is beyond, I don't even want a big dog. Seriously.
Imagine the cleaning up the poopies.
Oh my God!
Do they wear a diaper in the house? Like, how do you clean the lion poopy?
Well, he had the thing in the house. Well, probably in a cage.
But like, how do you clean the poopies?
Same way you clean any kind of poop. You know, I think I'd rather clean the poop of a healthy tiger than a dog with diarrhea.
Oh, David.
Well, I mean, think about it.
Please, enough.
I'm just, you know, I'd rather have a shovel than having to take Clorox out of a carpet. Just saying. I'm just saying.
That's rough.
What else am I talking about? What else do we want to mention about COVID? I'm hoping things will reopen intelligently across America. I'm not one of these people who believes, and I'm not a scientist, and all the scientists and the doctors are saying we should stay in lockdown through December.
Yeah.
And I just, I don't know, it's a little nanny state even for me. I'm thinking open slowly. Why can't we slowly reopen through June? And then if there's going to be a second wave right around September, everybody starts social distancing and wearing masks again.
Because most people are irresponsible.
Well, no, we haven't been. I mean, for the most part.
Yeah, well, the people who aren't are going to spread bad stuffies.
But I'm saying if COVID's supposed to be going down this slope and not coming back until fall, there's really not much we can do in July and August that will make it worse if we're just being normal. And then if we figure, cold weather's coming, it's Labor Day, it's September or first day of fall, now put the masks on, more social distancing again, so let's keep it from coming back. If it's not going to be coming back in July and August anyway. You know what I'm saying? I mean, do you agree with that or what?
I think that people are not responsible, and that people do not realize the severity of the risk, and people better get themselves together and just stay in. Like, you can't go buck wild. I mean,
no, not buck wild.
People will die. This virus will mutate and kill people.
It has, but it still killed less than your average flu. I mean, a bad flu, really bad. So 75,000 is the current, I think, number in America, right? Or that's the 70-something thousand dead in America. When they were predicting 100 to 200, I guess, even with or without, social distancing and separation.
Still too many, Bubba.
Of course, it's 70,000 too many. I'm sure actually there were some criminals and bad people who died. So, COVID probably took out some rotters.
Even on the calls I'm on, it took a lot of poor people, a lot of sick people, a lot of non-white people. This is bad. I mean, this is bad.
It is really bad. But
I think, why rush? I mean, I don't want to be in the house and be sequestered any more than anyone, God knows. But I think you have to be intentional in what you're going to do, and you can't. You've got to think.
But it's also easy to say that when you, thank God, have what we need and can pay for what we need, and not been really affected by food shortages. If all the meat plants in America close down, right, people aren't going to eat. I go to the supermarket and I look in the frozen produce section for broccoli and cauliflower and corn. It's empty by the time I get there. And this has been going on for weeks. If those plants close down, I mean, suddenly, there is no food in the cabinet. There's no food in the fridge. You need people processing that.
No, I know that.
And that's why they call it essential services. But then that means, the essential service people, they can risk themselves because I want my, salami. I want my broccoli. I want my lamb from the lamb plant and my cheese from the cheese plant. It's okay. Those people who are making $12 an hour.
This is the argument in a capitalist society, that there are people that are fodder, and that we treat people like horrific. We treat people like crap, and we have a class system, and it's abusive, and this is not new.
But we take advantage. I mean, when we order food on Instacart or via Instacart, it's like somebody is going to the supermarket, putting that all together, going in a car, going on someone's stoop, handling all these packages that supposedly the virus can live on for 72 hours. But it's okay. They're not our family. They're not us. They have to do it. It's just, I'm inside, I'm doing my part. It's like, if you care about the person, is you tip them well, and you make sure that they're in a place that they're getting some sort of screening. Yeah, but a tip is not going to be, a tip doesn't affect COVID.
To me, calling all healthcare professionals to work and doing that and people are risking their lives every day.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's my...
And firemen and cops do this all the time. And urban high school teachers, So I'm just saying there's still this incredible double standard of we should be sheltering in and not leaving our houses, except for the people who cater to us. And we'll pay them enough and treat them and smile at them and thank them so much. But meanwhile, they can risk the COVID, not me. As opposed to everybody going about their normal lives just with masks on and staying away from each other. And maybe that would risk 10 to 20,000 more dead across America. But America would be up and running again. And we wouldn't have 20% unemployment. And we wouldn't have shortages of things that we haven't really felt yet, because the food, at least not the non-perishable food we're eating now, was manufactured a year ago. We're not feeling the losses yet, as it were. So we shall see. That wasn't funny. I was just ranting a little bit. That, buddy? Well, because I've been doing the continuing saga of our local Chinese restaurant. So I think Last week I mentioned the joy that leapt into my heart, right? The thrill, the delight. Because when COVID first started, I mean, not just COVID, but when the sheltering in place, the isolation first started, one of the things that kept me going during the darkest times, when I thought I was actually getting it, and when it was really scary. I mean,
it was very scary
that first week or two.
Correct.
One of the things that kept me going was when I had to go to the supermarket, passing our local supermarket, our Chinese restaurant was open. And you were just, the smell.
Well, not only that you love that place. It's not like, any place. It's like your jam.
It's like, yeah. That particular, I mean, there's another Chinese restaurant locally that I eat at lunch for all the time, and it's really, really good and cheaper. But this place, I like the atmosphere going in.
You have a special place for it in your tummy.
They have Chinese and Japanese, and I think Thai. It is a fantastic place.
And they give you the tea and the little...
and the crunchy, the good crunchy noodles.
And at the end, they cut up the orange with the fortune.
Yeah, it's the best place ever. Best place ever. And so in all of this, I knew, I can bring home Chinese food, or I can just pass the place and smell the kitchen of the smells, right? And then, because people, not so wrongfully, and not just racially, were scared of Chinese, they weren't able to stay open.
Some people even were afraid of the Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, yeah. No, but I'm saying,
that was justified.
There's been an Italian place, a pizza place, right next to it that closed for a day and has been open this whole time. And has been serving pizza and other, just for takeout. But they never closed, and they're doing fine.
Really?
They're not doing the business that they were before all of this, but they're there, and they're doing, and they didn't have to close. Nobody was boycotting the Italian place, but I guess people were kind of afraid of the Chinese place more so. So the Chinese place stopped doing, every day I would come there and it's like, Chinese, we'll just do takeout.
Oh, really?
Or I would see them literally, all of them in masks and cleaning gear all day, every time I would go and look inside. And there they were just scrubbing the place down to, a fine polish. And then finally they gave up. They said, no, we're closed. And it just broke my heart. Because, I wouldn't, not only, it's not like I was getting Chinese food from them every day.
No.
Maybe if I did, they would stay open. But when I would now go to the supermarket, the smell was gone.
No.
And I knew, oh, man, this is really happening. This is closed. And the nail salon's closed, of course. And then briefly, the liquor store was closed. But that's essential. They reopened fast.
Because people are home and they're impossible. You want them to drink, right?
But then about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I started seeing the signs up on the Chinese place of like, we're coming back. We're gonna reopen. We will. We promise. And it said the greatest sign I've ever seen. I wish I'd taken it off the door because I wanted to keep it forever. It said, May 15, we back.
We back.
In that magnificent grammar, May 15, we back. And it gave me such a ray of hope.
It did.
An array of delight of like, it doesn't mean they're going to reopen their doors and have people sit, but they'll start making food again. We can get takeout. We can do as we please. And then a couple of days ago, the sign changed.
Uh-oh.
And it said, I nearly levitated when I saw this.
Is that what you're calling when you self-poop yourself?
It might have a jet stream coming out. Or I'm using the poop stick that they were using in that cartoon show. But the sign changed. They took down this sign and they put up, reopen May 9. Today, May 9. Now, the scary news is I haven't been back to that supermarket in a couple of days. And I think yesterday, Governor Cuomo kind of extended the stay in social isolation, everybody stop New York thing until May 15. So I am dreading going there today and seeing the May 9 sign going down and May 15 back up, even though restaurants preparing food are an essential service. They could have been open serving takeout this whole time. So I'm wary. I am worried that they won't be open today.
Okay.
But at the same time, we're reopening May 9th. I'm going to go there. And I don't even know what I'm going to get. I'm going to go for the boneless ribs. I don't know. I'm going to get like a combo thing, so like an egg roll. Or they have sushi. I don't know if I'll take out sushi. No. I may really splurge, especially if it's more towards dinner time, and they make duck. I do love duck.
You do love duck.
Although I was able to get like a cooked duck breast by some this what was it? Baldor gourmet food things. That was really good, and that tided me over for like a week. It was great, but I don't know. I just hope that they're there.
Me too.
And they're
love
open.
them.
Oh, please, Chinese people. We will forgive Wuhan. We forgive the lab. If you would just give me a decent combination of like, cold sesame noodles and those crunchy noodles with the real duck sauce that you do. Not the choy noodles, but the real. Oh, please be back, please. Anyway.
You like that.
Oh my gosh. And there is going to be one good thing coming out of this whole corona thing, apparently. When people do feel, and it's going to take a while, when people do feel comfortable flying again and getting back on airplanes should be better, because they're not going to allow people, unless you're related, to sit in middle seats anymore. They're not going to put you right next to a stranger. They're going to distance you as best they can on airplanes, which is what we all have wanted for 30 years. The miserable crosstown buses in the air that we've all been taking, even when you're taking like business class, it's not that much better. You're still, it's like, oh, I'm here, here's this person, whose elbow rest is it? But not that I can ever afford business class, but sitting in 20 rows back, and you're there, and there's a baby over there, and then this person's near you, and then this person's slumped over on the window, and it's just, right? So imagine if you get on a plane and at least know that you will not have someone directly next to you. We wanted that on plane flights.
The air conditioning will be giving you the spreading the COVID.
That's what everybody's also terribly worried about, is the recirculated air. And someone took a picture on an airplane and shared it with either Facebook or the New York Post, and said, they're not doing this. The whole plane is almost full, is packed. There's people are wearing masks, but it's below their noses. Who's watching? Yeah.
Well, you'd think the flight attendants could get off their butts and do it.
Exactly. And but granted, if it's a mother and child or a couple or a family, they'll still sit the way they'll sit.
They're allowed to.
But you shouldn't have to sit next to someone you don't know.
I don't even want to sit next to people. I prefer to be separate from you on the plane because you're a horrible flyer.
Yeah.
You cry. You always want food.
I do always want food.
Obstreperous.
Whereas, let's say, wouldn't you pay?
Richard Skipper said happy Saturday.
Oh, thank you, Richard. Thanks so much, man. Granted, back in the day, I think I would have paid an upgrade fare, not even for a larger seat or more leg room, but like, we will put you near a pretty girl. I'm like, what guy wouldn't do that? Yeah, I said back in the day, dear. I don't mean now. I mean back in the day. Wouldn't that be a good thing? I mean, no guarantee. So it's not like you pay $500 and the girl does that. It's just like, oh, I get to sit next to that and look at that and talk to that. That would be a great upgrade fare, wouldn't it? Or as opposed to charging you, $60 for 1 inch more leg room. Or, hey, for $40, we'll take your suitcase and put it under the plane, and then you've got to wait for it. Anyway, so maybe air travel and maybe bus travel will get a little better too. I'm not sure. So, but this is so America, and this is so media, the way the media is. We started to feel better about things. We stopped being quite as afraid of COVID because we hit the peak, the apex, and now we've been going down the curve, flattening the curve down, 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 down. Hopefully, continue down in terms of hospitalizations and incidences and deaths, and not just the crazy Americans who are protesting the lockdown in various cities, but everybody is sort of feeling okay. If we're really, really careful,
Yeah.
we can start trying to get back to normal and exhaling. I felt it last week. I felt when I went shopping, that's the only place I go outdoors. And I just had a sense, everybody was wearing masks. People were willing, but there were more people out. The weather was nicer. And I just got the sense that people were exhaling, that we were feeling a little more okay, that this too shall pass. Because everybody says that the first week or two or three, but you don't feel it. And then after a month or so, we did start to feel it. Like, this too will pass. We'll get through this. Okay, we'll be okay. And so we relax and we feel better and we start thinking about things, right? So what does the media do? What makes the front page of not just the Post, but a lot of different, is picked up all over the country, all over the world?
Drinking urine?
Just when we're smiling a little bit, when we're feeling better.
Urine drinking.
No, not urine drinking. This is unbelievable, right? They decide that the big story that we should be thinking about and, of course, fearing and worried about
is what?
Is this brand of hornet that comes from China. And they're calling it quite literally, I mean, the name they've given them is the murder hornet.
Is that like the murder ballad? I was a hornet, flew from China. I thought that Raleigh would be finer.
So here's the deal. These hornets from China are really, they're scary looking, they're aggressive, they're red, orange bodies, and they have these little mandible pincers like ants. And what they do is they go and they kill bees and take over their nests. And so everybody's now afraid with the big bee shortage that these hornets are going to be this next thing. They're not in the United States, but they're coming.
They don't like that. People don't like bees.
And so just when America, the media thinks, oh, how do we keep America submissive?
But you know this. So we have a good friend who worked in New York papers. There's several types of storylines that media can project. They're very limited. So it's like human interest, conflict, whatever they are. And they just cycle through them because they want a job. It's like weather people. Weather people have to have precipitation or something.
No, wait a second. You have enough jobs with COVID and people getting better and people getting, you have a zillion stories to write about that or about, on a positive side,
those are
building
human
back.
interest. People don't want that. They want,
Well, but then it's like, scary, literal murder hornet. Not in America yet, but just like the virus, it's coming. And that's the next thing we all have to be really afraid of. Look around the skies. We have this colony apparently next door to the house over there. There's bees that are very obviously crawling into their siding, into the eaves, because there's little holes in the sides of the house there. And there's giant bumblebees all the time patrolling the thing. And they've got a nest in there already. And there's going to be hundreds of bees next door. Of course, they're building a hive. And they've got all that room.
No proof.
I'm sorry, what?
They're in there drinking bee urine. They're fine.
BP.
BP.
Which, by the way, BP is a gas.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
What?
So you got comments, which I...
Oh, please, yeah.
Cynthia says, hi, Cousin Bonnie.
Oh, when the thing directed to me.
And then Chris Baldwin said, hey, Dave, how's it going?
Hey, Chris.
And then Dennis Morgan said, Denise, D-E-N-I-S-E, Denise?
Denise, yeah.
You're amazing, Dave.
Oh, thank you. And by the way, give my regards to the nephew.
And then Cynthia Shoup said they call themselves CEO now. Maybe when we were talking about CFO.
So going back, yeah.
Sorry, I just
well,
got
thank you for checking all the commentary, yeah. But here's the deal also with the murder bees. It isn't the murder hornets. It isn't enough that they're scary, and it isn't enough that it gives us something else to worry about and panic about. They have to be un-American. They have to be a threat on the American way of life.
Remember the Cold War? Yeah. It's like reminiscent of Cold War.
Well, do you know where these bees are from, apparently?
Oh, wait, you got to see this. I'm posting all bees. Yeah. Look at this.
Well, show me.
This is from my account. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, so these bees...
I'm not good, David.
It's fine, but hang with me here because I want guess where the bees are from, or the hornets are from. I'll be right there, folks. Oh,
From my account, I can't post from you.
You and me, Bumblebee. Guess what country they're from?
Hopefully not China.
China, of course.
Oh, no.
So China not only gave us this virus, but they gave us the murder hornet that is invariably, is not here, but it's going to come to America. And it's got to be. But what I love about the media is I remember.
How does
and
it
I've talked
kill?
about, yeah.
How does it kill?
I think, again, I don't think it kills humans. I think it aggressively stings healthy, good, happy bumblebee BBs.
BBs?
Yeah, BBs and BB rebosos.
Baby bees?
Baby bees, beelets, mini bees. Where the hell am I going with it? So it kills
gesture,
good bees.
David, don't gesture because you're freezing.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
I'm just telling you because I love you.
But it's the don't bee that kills the do bees, right? And the do bees brothers.
I think we have.
No, that's the almonds. Anyway, what the hell am I? But it can just be a scary, bad new strain of hornet. It has to be a hornet that comes from
they're killing
another country, a country that is hostile to America. Do you remember what happened 25, 30 years ago? They were scaring the hell out of us with the killer bees.
Oh, the Africanized bees.
It wasn't just, they weren't just African. Yeah. They weren't just coming from Africa.
No.
They were the other, the dark other that the media was scaring with us. They're African, not. How racial can you be? Here you have these happy American sort of white bees, as it were, bees. Protestant bees go along.
The bees are the wasps. Why do you think they call them wasps?
Well, right, they're waspy SOBs. And then suddenly, oh no, the black bees are coming. They're not just African, they're Africanized. They're savages from Africa, and they're coming to get us, and that. And then, of course, we had the terrible bee shortage.
I think you're going to be potato bombed.
Oh, here comes potato.
Is it a Zoom time? Hello? Oh.
We're going to be potato-ized in a moment, yeah. Yeah. Well, watch the movement. I don't want to lose the interwebs here.
Showing his private.
Oh, potato.
He knows how to photobomb. He learned.
But now it's the China bees. Okay, so back there, the African bees, they're scary, and we got to worry about them.
Update. Yeah. Cynthia says worldwide, they have been reported to kill 50 people a year due to sting-induced allergic reactions, and more rarely, multiple organ failure due to a large number of stings.
Ah, that's not good. That isn't good. Okay, so they're scary worldwide, and they'll be scary here when they come.
They'll be coming around
the beehive when they come. They'll be coming around the beehive when they come. We'll all be singing while those bees will be stinging. They'll be coming around the beehive when they come. Aha! But it's just this fear thing of, first we're supposed to be afraid of the Africanized bees, and then that went away, and then we were worried that we won't have enough bees, that our bee population, because of climate change and whatever else and industrialization, our bee population was going to go away, which would mean the end of civilization as we know it, because we need them to pollinize things and pollinate things. And now it's like, I guess a lot of people are beekeepers now. It's become this urban hobby of keeping beehives and making honey. What is it, like beer things? Where it's small brew, small batch honey.
Craft beer?
Craft honey things.
Oh, or local honey.
Locally sourced beehive honey. And now it's like, oh no, we got to worry again that those bees are going to be taken out by these murder hornets.
Murder bee, you said.
Murder bee corporated, I guess it would be. Yeah. Anyway.
That's not good, honey.
What else do we want to talk? So we're talking about murder hornets as well we should. Anything else we want to get to before we get to the actual show? This is really my favorite part of the show before we get to all the other crap.
What time is your guest coming on?
10:30. We have Greg Alprin. It's 10 to 10 now. So about 10:30, we will have our guest, Greg Alprin, from the Mangina Dialogues podcast that he does with comedian Nick Scopoletti. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. But they've been doing this podcast for a year or so, and it's apparently really taken taking off, and they've had some cool guests, and they're quite talented. So we're going to have Greg, or as he calls himself, DJ the Gregalicious, on the program with us.
I have some trouble.
We will, oh, and by the way, I won't be interviewing him. Guess who'll be interviewing him?
Potato.
No, not Potato.
Mr. Potato.
Not Mr. Potato. Of course, Rabbi Saul Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches, will be the interviewer of Greg Alprin later in the program. We will also go inside Broadway for some news about the Rialto. There's not a hell of a lot of news except for dead people. That's just, no, and again, it's not really COVID related. Just old and die, and we'll pay some tribute. We will also have our Wretched Pun of Destiny, and it will have to do with co-ops. We'll have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, where we're going to be hasty about it as we do a poem for Hasty, Colorado. We will also, oh God, we're doing a lot. Boy, we're doing a lot.
Yeah,
We'll even have, and this is so exciting, story time. Look, Potato. I got this from the Idaho Potato Commission.
I know who.
Yes, it's the Spuddy Buddy official coloring book, all about Idaho potatoes. And if you want to talk about really a sick idea, the whole idea of this mascot is for you to kill and cook and eat his entire family. This is, like when you get a chicken for chirping chicken, there it is. But anyway, yeah, the Spuddy Buddy coloring book. We're going to read some of that in, and Potato will join us. In fact, we'll even have Potato News on Dave's Gone By today, because there's a lot of news from the Heinz Corporation, Kraft Heinz, a lot of fun stuff to talk about, so don't miss that. Shall we do a little bit of Greeley crimes and old times, my dear?
Yeah, I'm just doing my work for your thing here.
Oh yeah, please. This is a segment that we've been doing for several years now, because my wife and I have lived, oh, and I forgot, Cynthia and Jeff, we will have Today Yesterday, our weekly quiz, so stick around for that as well. But let's do a couple of Greeley crimes and old, notice how I vamp here, times. La 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 la! Friggin' the oat indeed we. Greeley crimes and old times, which is taken from the pages of the Greeley Tribune. This is the newspaper that goes to our hometown when Joyce and I were living in northern Colorado for a couple of years.
I prefer to call it as the site of JBS COVID Ground Zero.
Yeah, we were talking about this last week.
Yeah.
Greeley, of all places. My mom actually had this joke thing that until Joyce and I moved to Colorado a decade ago, she never heard of Colorado.
Because you never looked for it.
Well, yeah, but she never, Denver wasn't in the news. She'd never seen it. It wasn't part of her framework. And is Colorado still on the map? And then we moved there, and suddenly she would see things about Denver. Well, go figure that Greeley, Colorado made the front page of the New York Times a week and a half ago. Why? Because the JBS plant was killing its workers with COVID.
Yeah.
The JBS is this big giant meat plant that they have there.
They weren't like forcibly killing.
Yeah, and then they had, and Greeley was also trying to get back to work slowly and perhaps prematurely of reopening the salons and the little restaurant things. And they had on the front page just what Greeley needs to reopen immediately: a tattoo parlor.
Yeah.
Because that's essential service right there, folks. That going in under people's skin with needles is the one first thing you want to reopen when there's a giant pandemic going around. And of course, how can you live without getting a tattoo? I mean, milk, eggs, bread, sure, doctor services, dental work, no. You need to design your chest. That has to be done right now. God, I'm like Lewis Black today. I'm on fire.
Yeah, what's up with that?
So, but that makes the front page of the New York Times. These people. And what's kind of funny is that there was a story weeks ago, just before the shutdown, that Greeley was opening its very first axe throwing bar. How do we move away, and miss the axe throwing bar in Greeley, Colorado?
Well, we saw the axe throwing on some of the old pictures from the
Potato
Day.
Day.
They used to have a lot of axe
Yeah,
throwing.
we used to go to Potato Day once a year in Lincoln Park. And one of the things that they would do to show what Greeley was like 100 years ago, or 150 years ago, was they have people riding horses and they churn butter.
Our
And then
favorite
there'd be a guy
people
throwing
They used
hatchets.
to always cook the campfire, like, what do you call that?
Chuck wagon.
Chuck wagon. They used to always cook chuck wagon
I
food
love
for you.
that.
And you never got sick. You were one of the few people.
Why would I get sick? I have one bite of beans and hash, you know?
We made homemade butter and stuff like that.
Oh, they had the tortilla woman?
Yeah. Oh, she was a little grumpy, but she used to make tortillas.
Yeah. But they also had a guy showing people how to throw hatchets into a tree. Apparently, this is a thing, and now they're opening a bar that would be where people go. Wouldn't it be great if it's an actual bar? And then they have a hatchet throwing part of it. So you give somebody like 5 to 8 drinks, they're hostile because they're working at the JBS plant, and then you put a real hatchet in their hands. What could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing. I think they should mix it up with Hooters too, and then they'd have a whole, you know.
Oh, no, but you know what still makes me laugh? That years and years ago, one of the promotions that they used to have, this is absolutely true. They had at Yankee Stadium, yeah, they had bobblehead doll day and they had, you know, free helmet day, but they also had bat day.
Yes, I love that.
They would give everybody who came to the stadium a free bat. Not like a giant swing for the fences kind of, but a small wooden bat with a Yankee logo on it. It was a free promotion if you bought a ticket to the game that day. And just imagine all these people coming to the stadium, sitting in the hot sun, guzzling beer after beer after beer, and then like somewhere around the 8th inning, with the Yankees possibly losing if it was the Billy Martin era, and then they've got a bat in their hand. What could go wrong?
Nothing. Now they won't even let you bring like glass bottles or bottle caps. Now you can't have a bottle cap, but they're giving you like a Louisville Slugger and saying go for it.
Yeah. It's Machine Gun Day and Louisville State. It's like, right? You know, it's Poison Dart Day, and here in New Haven, I don't know. Anyway, by the way, it's 2 minutes to 10 o'clock Eastern Time here in the Daverhood. You're watching the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. Potato will join us for Potato News and also for our Spuddy Buddy coloring book. And all of you folks watching who will be seeing our guest Greg Alprin in just about a half an hour from now. We'll have our Inside Broadway segment. We'll have Storytime. We'll have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. We will have our Wretched Pun of Destiny. I think I mentioned that. But right now, it's time for Greeley Crimes and Old Times. So as I said, this newspaper from our wonderful town where the tattoo parlors are back in business and the axe throwing place is just weeks away. 2 columns in the local newspaper that are really there just for fun, and I love them. One of them is called Cop Log, and they are phone calls that come in to the Greeley Police Department from people who need help. And they're fun, it's public record.
Says, hi, Lauren.
Who does what?
Hi, Lauren. I guess that's her daughter.
Yeah,
is it her daughter?
Yeah, all we have listening to this program is relatives. Everybody's related.
No, but the person who said you're amazing, I don't know who they are. They're like, you're amazing, Dave.
This program is a breeding ground for Tay-Sachs. It just is. You know?
Let me get out my genetic screening.
But so we mix Cop Log with a column that is unfortunately on hiatus now because so many of the writers at the Tribune are furloughed or on hiatus.
Aren't they all working for free? I thought they were like interns.
Some of the columns, well, yeah, those. I mean, it's just the paper was a mess even before COVID hit, and now COVID is just giving them an excuse to do even less because they used to be a 7-day paper, and now they're a 4-day paper. God knows what's going to happen to them. But they were sold and bought out by this other company that is known for consolidating and firing people. So it's going to go real great there. But there's another column called Old 100 Years Ago, where our friend of the Daverhood, Mike Peters, would compile stories that were in the Greeley paper 100 years ago and pick out the cutest, funniest, most nostalgic ones.
That's right. I missed this. She said a friend wanted to have an announcement in a Cincinnati Reds game with the large group on Sundays, free her daughters bar mitzvah
Uh-huh.
and have it announced. Management at the ballpark, when she called, thought it was something to do with bats. No kidding.
Oh,
Shabbat mitzvah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, it would be appropriate for COVID, since apparently bats are what started the whole thing. Don't tell the UNC professor that.
Oh no! So we have a professor at the university. One does snakes, I think he does bats too. Any way he can link anything. It's like Britney Spears. She likes bats. You know, it's like whatever. I mean, it's like
He's smart.
Yes,
He gets his not only his name, but his name connected to bats in the paper. And people were saying that this thing was caused by bats in a lab. You know. And I think if bats are in a lab, they should wear their capes.
She's watching.
Oh, hey, Auntie Essie. So are you ready for some old-time comedy? Actually, we don't have many old times because they don't have the column now. It's on hold while COVID's going on. But we do have some cop log, thanks to a writer there named Trevor Reed. So we're stealing his work right here.
No, you didn't give me my phone.
Oh, I don't know where that. Oh, I think it's over. Forget it. You just use the ones that you got.
I need my phone. Oh.
Is it there? One of the nice things about the budget for this program is that we have sound effects, and they're just the best sound effects ever.
I'll just improvise.
Spielberg and Coppola have nothing on the sound effects for this program. Did you find it?
No.
Oh dear. Oh, sadness.
Okay, we'll have to.
Have to improvise.
That's my favorite one. What'd you do with that?
I don't know. It's not there. It's not there. But I'm going to get this going.
Okay, go ahead.
Because we have less than half an hour before our guest comes on. So, a caller on 25th Street.
Ring, 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 ring.
Reported suspicious activity. A man came to his door asking him to donate. Oh, there you go. See? Let's put that on camera just so people can see. This was my toy when I was in my 30s. No, this was my telephone when I was a child. Isn't that lovely? That was another toy I had when I was a child. When I was a child, I thought as a child. I used the tambourine as a child. When the Kind was ein Kind.
Come on,
all right.
John Rice.
Sorry, I just had a Werner Herzog moment there. Okay, so this man came to the door asking the caller to donate to the Church of Satan Jesus Christ. And the stranger was holding a lawn light like a microphone. This is why are people still even going door to door at this point, you know?
I think probably Satan made him.
Now, a caller outside a supermarket on 11th Avenue reported a man and a woman on drugs yelling at people. The couple, they weren't just yelling at people. They were eating ice cream with a large hunting knife.
Oh, I know where they were. They were near the yogurt place where we used to go near the Lucky Fins.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. But have you ever eaten ice cream with a hunting knife? Is it better?
Oh, it's delicious.
Because the cold metal goes against, I don't know. I'm wondering. Anyway, let's do, these are now very, very special. These are sacred now because we may never get our old time 100 years ago thing again. So we have one here. Hon, have you heard about the birds?
No, I
The
don't.
birds. Frank Johnson, age 19, lives in Greeley.
Oh, good.
He was walking outside his home when two airborne fighting sparrows crashed into his face. They cut his cheek and eyelid and bruised his eyeball.
Ugh.
And while he attended to his wounds, the sparrows continued their mad fight.
I'm sure they did poopies on him too.
Those, I will betcha, were murder sparrows from China.
I believe so.
Had to be. They had the mandibles, they had everything. I'm telling you. Our next Greeley
Wait, there's
crime.
stuff- I can't see. There's stuff going on. Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
I can't see. I'm trying to
To
do an
read the
emoji, but
comments
it
and
won't let
things.
me.
Oh, here, okay.
I can't. Let me just go to the emoji and let's see if I can do anything.
I keep ducking out of sight to blow my nose and stuff, folks. I apologize for that, but you'd rather me do that off camera, trust me. Police responded to a construction
Oh, my
site
goodness.
on 11th Avenue for a drunk man in a porta potty.
Oh, now you got the baby shoob and the mama shoob doing the reactions
Hey guys,
and writing in.
but can you ask me why police would be called to See to a drunk man in a porta potty. He's in the bathroom.
No, maybe that was his home.
Oh, that could be.
Wait, I know why.
He shelters in feces, essentially, yeah. And our next crime, as it were, a caller.
Oh, hold on.
Thank you. A caller on 7th Avenue reported that people were messing with her windows. Well, she said she had smoked meth the night before, and she was upset that the people upstairs were not getting high.
David, you have to correct me. Lauren and Cynthia are not mother-daughter, they're sisters.
Oh, okay.
Sisters.
Sisters are doing it for themselves. They are indeed. I'm upset that our neighbors aren't doing meth, aren't you? I don't know. Anyway.
Well, apparently everyone on the Tiger King does meth. That's why they're missing teeth.
What were you talking about just about 5 minutes ago?
I have
no idea. No, but you were joking about something involving
urine? Drinking urine.
Why were you joking about that?
I don't know.
My wife is on some, even though I don't believe in this, my wife is on some level psychic. Why?
Psychic or psychotic?
This is a thing, apparently. And Joyce didn't know that this was, and this is our Greeley Elsewhere, our Greeley Crimes and Old Times Elsewhere segment. Because for one story, every week when we do Greeley Crimes and Old Times, we move out of Greeley and we get a weird story from somewhere else. This was from the New York Post. Just in case you thought the coronavirus hashtag stay-at-home challenge could not get any grosser, and if you visit your grocer, you know just how much produce they have. Bored isolationists are now posting TikTok videos of themselves wetting their own pants.
Ew!
The hashtag is Pee Your Pants Challenge. It currently boasts 4 million views on TikTok with dozens of chuckleheads. This is the New York
I'll
Post
tell you
writing.
something. There are people who really enjoy that. Nihal and I, when we used to go to a foreign film place like Lincoln Plaza Cinema, there'd be a lot of movies about that. Like somebody's probably very happy to find that free TikTok.
Okay. It's keeping people entertained amid the lockdown. In the original clip that was posted April 21st, 19-year-old comedian Liam Weir, or maybe it's Liam Weir. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
He stands in front of a mirror and announces the name of the prank. Then, quote, a revolting trickling sound can be heard in the background. Can you maybe, do we have a revolting trickling sound in our sound effects? Oh, that's pretty good.
No. That's as close as we're getting.
Followed by a wet spot appearing on the front of this guy's sweatpants. This is comedian Liam Weir. Weir, who reposted the video after it was yanked from TikTok, yanked being the operative term, told the insider at the New York Post, quote, I'm surprised to see that people on the internet will pee themselves if you call it a challenge and add a hashtag. Really? Are you surprised?
I don't want people to pee themselves. I don't like it.
And he said the whole point of doing it was to show how pointless and stupid these viral challenges are. However, his viral video has now spawned hordes of imitators. One clip with 70,000 likes and 2 million views. 2 million views. I can't get 500 views on it. 2 million views shows a urine enthusiast guffawing hysterically and then moaning as the dirtiness of his deed dawns on him. Many on social media are not amused by the stunt. One wrote, quote, might as well eat a Tide Pod at the end for a finishing touch. Why not? Anti-social commentary or not, it seems TikTok could use a diuretic. This past March, a woman, in order to get clicks on TikTok, a woman licked an airplane toilet seat while TikTok's poop challenge proved that 1 week is the exact point at which people go insane during isolation. So I'm going to ask you, should I take the toilet lick challenge, the
No.
pee your pants challenge.
I'm sorry. You know, my mom's a nurse. You should not have any urination or defecation like that. Go in the bathroom and make your duties.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, if I go and do that in the airplane bathroom, I could do that in the duty-free shop. Thank you. You're watching Dave's Down By, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a good
Why
one.
don't we, I don't know if we can beat that. Let's table Greeley Crimes and Old Times for the week and
It's
move
getting
on.
close to your time when your guests go
Yeah,
home.
so what I want to do is go right into, since we've got Cynthia and Jeff with us, I want to get our quiz going, our today, yesterday quiz. So that was Greeley Crimes and Old Times.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool. I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at is that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi-yi-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi.
Someone mentioned, or Joyce mentioned, that there's people doing also a pigtail challenge. I don't know what that would mean. I guess if you have enough hair, you put in pigtails. Beats the ice bucket challenge. I would rather do a pigtail challenge than an ice bucket challenge any day of the week. But I challenge you to stick around for more of Dave's Gone By, because we have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned coming up. We've got Inside Broadway. We've got our Wretched Pun of Destiny, Storytime, Potato News. Oh my gosh. And of course, our guest coming up, Greg Alprin from the Mangina Dialogues podcast, all on this amazing May 9th edition, 2020 of Dave's Gone By. But before we get to all that, let's see how you are in terms of trivia, in a trivial sort of a way. Since this is May 9th, there have been a zillion May 9ths before this one. Do you know your May 9th history? We'll ask some trivia questions about it. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, so can you, without wikiing, without binging or Googling, this is just, you know, on the honor system, you get to play our today, yesterday quiz. And you get to play against Cynthia and Jeff, my cousins, who generally try and chime in. So the idea is, Joyce is going to be monitoring your responses. You can type in the answer to the question if you think you know it, and send it right to, you know, the messages on my Facebook page. Cynthia and Jeff generally do it first, but see if you can beat them. That's the challenge, and see if you just want to challenge yourself. So are you ready for...
Oh, it said Jeff is shopping.
Oh, Jeff is shopping. He's not listening to... Oh, well. So, Cynthia, you're going to have to do it for
Maybe
both of them.
she and her sister can do sister challenge.
Lauren, you too. And
Sister
anybody,
to sister.
my cousin Mark is out there, or anybody else watching the show. Let's see
Oh,
if
look
you...
what I found. You gave it to me. I'm sorry. It was behind the computer because
Oh.
I was typing for your job, for your work.
Next week.
I'm sorry, honey.
Well, we can use that for any kind of necessary
sorry,
things.
I'm
No, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, we're ready for our May 9th challenge on today, yesterday. Okay. Today, yesterday, 1726. 5 men were executed in London today. They had been arrested in February during a raid at Mother Clapp's Molly House. What was their crime? So the year was 1726 in London. 5 men were killed, well, were executed. They had been arrested a few weeks earlier at Mother Clapp's Molly House. What was their crime?
Do your xylophone. Go
Oh, yeah, for my countdown. And I've also got my... See, not only do we have sound effects, we have props. Huh? Cool stuff.
You lost the one little thing on the pink one. You had a little pink one.
I know. I had a little pink one, but then the rabbi cut it off. No, it's a little joke here. She's talking about the xylophone. So can you also check Cynthia and Jeff?
No, Jeff is shopping.
Oh, Cynthia and Lauren. Yeah. See if anybody
I don't know.
wants to chime in first for the answer.
Tell them that our internet is slow. So
Our internet's slow. We're trying our best to I'm trying not to move too much so I don't wreck our internet signal.
Oh, yes. Oh no, wait, hold on.
Any answers yet?
Nope, they got it just a K. Like Lauren said K. We don't got any answers. So far, no answers.
Well, I'm going to give you a couple more seconds because I know there's a delay.
Do your xylophoning. That usually gets people going.
I'll read the question one more time. 5 men were...
Oh, wait. Dancing on Sunday?
Dancing? What a great
And then
answer.
That's from one of the Shoup sisters. The other Shoup sister says no clue.
Okay, well, the answer is... The clue was Mother Clapp's Molly House. Do you want to take a stab, babe? Do you want to...
I don't know.
Because Dancing on Sunday is kind of close-ish. Their big crime for which they were executed was they were gay.
Oh.
They were homosexuals. Mother Clapp's Molly House was a kind of a meeting place, a congregating place that was known
Friends
as...
Judy?
Yeah, it was
Stonehenge.
200 years prior to Stonewall in London.
Wow.
They had a place kind of like that with Mother Clapp running it. And basically, they would get raided occasionally. And when they were raided, they would either imprison the people, beat them,
And
or
then they're
execute
just writing
them.
drinking. I don't know. Maybe it's a commentary on drinking.
Moving up a couple of years to our next question. 1754 is the year. Speaking of newspapers, the Pennsylvania Gazette runs the very first newspaper political cartoon in America. It was created by Benjamin Franklin, and it featured a picture of a fragmented snake. What were the cartoon's 3 words?
Was it You Caused COVID?
Oh. So I'll read that again. First newspaper cartoon in America, political cartoon in America.
They're still talking about the first question.
Oh,
They brought
okay.
in Jeff. I don't know.
Was
They said
published
that's what a Molly house means.
in the, well, Molly's, I guess, was a code word for, well, now it's, what is it for meth? What's Molly?
Molly is a drug.
Oh, it's literally called.
I don't know what it is. I don't do drugs.
Golly, good golly, Miss Non-Molly. Anyway, the Pennsylvania Gazette runs the very first political cartoon in America. It was drawn, it was created, it was actually woodcut by Benjamin Franklin and featured a picture of a fragmented snake. What were the cartoon's 3 words? And this was in 1754.
I caused COVID. I caused plague.
Do we have any?
Hold on. Aging. Wait, she said.
Age
her
before
mind
beauty.
is blank. Join or die.
We have an answer. We have
Join or die.
or age before beauty. Do you have an answer, babe? Do you want to try one?
Soft like Charmin. No. Oh
Well,
God!
Technical difficulties here.
They're burning down the house.
And whoever got join or die was properly joined. They got it right. Well done. Because it was a call to the colonies to all get together. Yeah, from Benjamin Franklin.
Was it Exodus movement of job people?
It was indeed. 1914 is our next question. President Woodrow Wilson.
Would you be mad if I open the window, Mr. David?
Oh, no, do
Okay.
it up. Oh, it may be, oh, it's going to be cool outside. It's very cold this morning.
A
No?
little bit, yeah, we need air.
President, that's Joyce's way of saying I'm starting to smell. President Woodrow Wilson.
Uh-oh.
What?
No, they're calling for Jeff. I think Jeff is the secret Santa here. He's given the.
Oh, he came
He's
back?
the phone a friend, I think.
1914, May 9th. Woodrow Wilson declared the day a holiday. It has actually become the 3rd best-selling holiday for flowers and plants. It is, of course,
what it is.
Mother's Day.
Yes. Mother's Day.
But it's the 3rd best-selling holiday for flowers and plants. What are the first 2?
I know the first one.
So, yeah, you thought I was going to make this too easy. No.
I know the first one.
Well, don't say it yet. Don't say it.
I know the first one.
So, Mother's Day declared on May 9th, 1914, and these days, for many years, it's become the number 3 day for selling flowers and plants. What were 2 and 1? What are 2 and 1?
I know the first one.
Okay, well, wait.
I know the first one.
Is anybody giving?
They got the first one is Valentine's. I agree.
Okay, who said the next?
Both of them. Oh, the second one they said is Christmas. The other one said my birthday. I think it's Easter.
Easter's very good. These are all great answers.
Wait, let's think.
This surprised the hell out of me.
What?
Christmas and Hanukkah.
What?
What? I don't know where the hell they got this information, but apparently that... Who's buying flowers on Hanukkah? You put it too near the candelabra, you burn the house down.
People I guess people love flowers.
I guess they do. All right, we're going to move through these a little more quickly, so we want to get to our guest.
Coming on,
in
David.
10 minutes.
Like 9 minutes.
Yes.
See if they're and you'll see if they're in the waiting room.
Not yet.
Okay.
1958 is the year. The date, May 9th. Jimmy Stewart plays a retired police detective who becomes obsessed with Kim Novak in this Alfred Hitchcock classic released today.
Okay,
what?
so the Shoup sisters agree that Hanukkah should be not listed.
Yeah, that
They
makes
don't know anybody who buys flowers.
Nobody, or plants. Who buys plants on Hanukkah?
I would think on what is the one with the Arbor Day, Jewish Arbor Day?
Oh, Tu B'Shvat.
Yeah, maybe Tu
There,
B'Shvat,
Tu
yeah.
B'Shvat. That's a day for plant. Well, you plant on Tu B'Shvat. You don't.
Oh, you don't purchase.
Yeah,
You can't purchase because it's a holiday. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's messy.
Anyway, Jimmy Stewart plays a retired police detective who becomes obsessed with Kim Novak in this Alfred Hitchcock. What?
With also Killer Bees.
And Murder Hornets in this Hitchcock classic released today in 1958.
Oh, I know what it is. Did I ever have it?
Yeah.
I've had it.
Yeah.
Everyone in this, they got it. Someone wrote Vertigi and someone wrote Vertigo.
It's Vertigi.
That's Italian for vertigo.
And this freaked everybody out when a decade ago, the British Film Institute ranked it as the #1 greatest film of all time. It actually leaped over Citizen Kane, which amazes me, but yeah.
Well, they're different.
Well, yeah.
I had to watch it in my film class when I was at Hunter years ago.
But nothing beats King. King is just like extra. Anyway, 1961. Okay. Today, yesterday, Newton Minow, chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, gave a speech to broadcasters in which he expressed his distaste for commercial television. What did he call it? I'll read the question again. You probably know. I'm sure you know this one.
What happened to Kahlo?
Oh, dear. Today, yesterday, Newton Minow of the FCC was giving a speech to broadcasters that became forever famous when he expressed distaste.
So, bizarre choice. Jeff has to pay now. I guess Jeff is paying at the supermarket, so we have he might not be able to participate.
Okay. But I need an answer on this one. Back in 19...
Oh, boob tube.
Cute.
Cynthia
and I do like, anyway. Yeah. Do we have another answer?
Wasteland.
What kind?
She just says wasteland. What kind of wasteland? Ask the Shoup sisters. What kind of wasteland?
Because you're half right. You're almost there. It's a... The answer, Newton Minow called it a, do you know this one? You know this one.
Teenage Wasteland.
No, that's only out here in the fields. Where, what else? What would you
call it my mind palace.
We're missing an adjective.
Dirty Wasteland?
No.
Filthy Wasteland?
It's a, not slow, but.
Fast Wasteland?
Sounds like vast. A vast wasteland.
Vast Wasteland.
Yeah. Anyway. Halfway there. And we're a little more than halfway through our questions. We have time. 1977 was the year. 33 people were killed.
God.
I just threw this one in for fun. 33 people were killed when the Hotel Poland burned to the ground.
Yeah.
Where was the Hotel Poland?
Krakow.
I don't expect people to know this, but I just found it kind of funny. So again, I will say 33 people were killed when the Hotel Poland burned to the ground.
Why do that? We're going to have some potato bombing.
I really want to get through this real quick, but okay. Oh, excellent potato. Did anybody answer that one? This is a very tough one.
List your sound.
Oh. Oops.
Is that me or you?
I'm assuming I'm still going. All systems go here.
Oh, lost your sound, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine it's still them. Nothing changed on our end. Oh, well, then I'm going to answer it.
No sound, Lauren.
Is anybody else having a problem? If you're seeing my mouth move and you're not getting any sound, let me know. But I'm going to answer the question so we can get through the segment.
Spain.
No. Good guess. The Hotel Poland was in Amsterdam.
Amster.
Again, I didn't expect you to know that, but just the idea that there would be the Hotel Poland not in Poland, I think speaks volumes, doesn't it? Anyway, moving on to our next question. 1978. After a successful run off-Broadway, this jazzy musical revue opened at the Longacre Theater, where it would run for 1,604 performances. In the cast were Nell Carter, who won a Tony Award, and our friend Andre de Shields.
Oh, he's lovely.
Who sang such tunes as The Viper Drag and Fat and Greasy. Mm-hmm. Name the show. If you know who wrote those songs, then you kind of should be able to guess the name of the show. It was an off-Broadway hit.
Through the colon?
What?
Thought he colon?
What?
Thought he colon. I don't know what that means.
I have no idea what that means.
It's literally thought he colon.
That's not the name of a show I've ever seen. Thought he colon?
Thought he colon. I'm not.
Yeah, I spell that.
The first word is THOUGHT.
Thought he.
The second word is HE.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last word colon. Then the other one said, can't figure out, gotta leave, my lip reading is not that great.
Oh, sorry. But anyway, after a run off-Broadway at the Longacre Theater, in the cast, Nell Carter, Andre de Shields.
Oh, but Rainey's Black Bottom, right? Mrs. Rainey's Black Bottom.
Good guess, but no. If you're a viper, did the viper
she said,
drag?
I didn't understand what he said. I thought he said colon. Something about that.
I talk about colons all the time, but no. Fat and Greasy. I don't know if he did the song, but in the show, I think Your Feet's Too Big is in there.
Oh, I love you, but your feet. I don't know.
And who wrote those songs? Who's the? Well,
Fats Domino.
No, not Fats Domino.
B.B. King.
No, you had it almost.
Fats Domino.
Fats
Waller.
And the name of the show?
Fats Waller.
I don't go out late, nowhere to go.
Ain't Misbehavin'.
Bingo.
Yeah, look, they got it. They got it too.
Ain't Misbehavin'. Okay, I got time for two more questions. Here we go. It's a bad day in 1980 for camp counselors, on film anyway, as this iconic movie opens in theaters. The screenplay's original title was A Long Night at Camp Blood.
Oh, I know what it is.
The movie was retitled.
I know what it is.
As what? 1980? What was the movie? I'm going to do this quick. Do it quick because I don't know.
It's a lucky number.
I also want to check my email to make sure because we're going to have someone checking in pretty soon.
I'll get your phone.
And Randall says, be safe. It won't be fun. It was going to be.
No, but in case they.
Oh, if there's a problem. Yeah.
Let me get your phone. I'm sorry.
So anyway, let's see if you can answer this one. It's a bad day for camp counselors on film. This iconic movie opened today in 1980, originally titled A Long Night at Camp Blood. I'm sure you're getting it. I can't go and check your messages, however, but I think you're going to know this one. Directed by a guy who first started directing on Broadway, a fellow named Sean S. Cunningham, directed the original Friday the 13th. Okay, got time for one more quick question. 2012. $87 million was the price for this 1961 artwork titled Orange, Red, Yellow. Well, it sold at Christie's on this date in 2012. It was a record price for contemporary painting, $87 million for this painting called Orange, Red, Yellow. Who painted it? Okay, we got C waiting room. Okay, cool. So, Greg, if you're waiting, just give me a moment or two or three, and we'll get you right on the show.
I hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, he's in the waiting room, but
chat him. Just write him in chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can I? Where the hell's chat for him? Can I chat to? Oh, right there.
No. Go. No. Go. Oh, yeah, right there.
Yeah.
And just chat. Yeah.
Where can I do it?
Oh, he's not in. He's in there. Just right here. Type in there.
Oh, there it
sorry.
is. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I just want to let our guest know that he's in. So our last question. 2012 is the year. $87 million was the price for this 1961 artwork titled Orange, Red, Yellow. That's a big hint. Great guess. Did anyone have a guess there? Or don't even bother.
Where's my hubby when I need him?
Yeah. Who was the painter of Orange, Red, Yellow? And the answer is, think of a canvas that's just color, kind of muted colors and big blocks. Tragic figure.
Oh, Basquiat?
Not Basquiat, but great question. Great answer also. No. Jewish guy. The Broadway play Red was about him.
Oh, I don't know what that's about.
Okay, we'll do it real quick because I want to get our guest on. And the answer is Mark Rothko.
Oh, I
Orange,
knew that.
Red, Yellow. Yeah,
Yes,
Rothko.
Rothko.
And by the way, that is no longer the record. In 2018, David Hockney's 1972 painting called Portrait of an Artist sold for $91 million.
I want to make sure that you're recording and you do gallery before I go.
I don't think I ever hit record, actually. Did I? Did I ever actually? Oh, yeah, we're recording. We are. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's a little after 10:30 in the morning Eastern time. You're watching the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. I hope you had fun with the Today-Yesterday quiz. We have so much more to do on the show. But, oh boy, we're very excited because we have a guest in the Daverhood, someone who's going to be talking with Rabbi Sol Solomon all about his podcast, a podcast that he does with a stand-up comedian named Nick Scapoletti, I believe the name is. His name is Greg Alprin, a.k.a. DJ the Gregalicious. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. So Rabbi Sol will be asking him all about their podcast, which is called the Mangina Dialogues. So as we get Rabbi Sol in the neighborhood and as we bring our guest into the show, let's play a bit of the theme song from their podcast, the Mangina Dialogues. I just have to find it. Here it is. This is how every episode starts with their really cool theme music.
Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This is the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again with your host Nick Scopes and the Gregalicious. You know how we do, cause you know we keeping it gangster and silly. Unplugged like a full swung titty. About get kitty. You know we down to the nitty and the gritty. And we make shit sound so damn pretty. Yeah, cause this unhinged comedy. And right now you're in the mix. So get ready, cause we about to get it poppin'. We ain't stopping.
Oh, shalom, shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I am delighted and excited to be talking to a Jewish person, ladies and gentlemen, someone who has a podcast. And you know what those things, you're listening to one right now. Let me tell you something. There are two things we know about all Americans during the COVID crisis. One is that we've all spent 2 months sheltering indoors. The other is that 90% of us have podcasts. But how do you distinguish one from the other? I think our person is having also audio issues hearing me. Are we being heard?
I cannot hear you.
You can't hear me? You cannot hear what the hell I'm saying? Hold on. I need to go into the Zoom thing here. No.
Open Zoom. You have the Zoom window.
It is the Zoom window.
No, that's not. That's Facebook. Oh, it is? Okay.
No, this is the Zoom window.
You do the gallery view.
Gallery view.
Your internet's unstable.
My internet's unstable, but what's wrong with my sound? Hold on. God damn it. What's going on here? Hold on. Because maybe people are not having trouble hearing. Can you hear me now? Hello, I'm talking. Can you hear me now? Now you talk.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
You can hear me?
I can through my computer, but not through my headphones. But it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, put me through your computer. God, I'm like God. I speak through whatever. If I had a burning bush, I talk through that. And then it's unfortunate because one of my daughters has a burning bush and she uses an ointment. But ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Greg Alprin. So he is part of this podcast called the Mangina Dialogues, featuring Nick Scapoletti and the person with us, DJ the Gregalicious. Among the people that they have talked to in recent times are Scaramucci, the mooch, right, from politics, Larry the Cable Guy, the porn guy, Mr. Skin, and tons of stand-up comedians. He's also, this person has done a lot of work as an associate producer on TV shows and videos. So ladies and gentlemen, won't you please welcome to the Daverhood, the DJ, Greg Alprin. Shalom, Greg, how you doing? How's it going?
Shalom, thanks for having me.
It's good to have you too. We have some audio issues. I apologize for this, but we'll do the very best we can. So, main question for everybody right now is, how are you feeling? How is sheltering working out for you?
I spend a lot of time walking the aisles at Walmart.
I know, right? Do you wear gloves and a mask, or just the mask, or nothing?
Occasionally I wear gloves. I'm masked and hand sanitized. Right. Occasionally I have gloves.
Okay. Exciting question. And well, I also apologize because I hear you, but it's very choppy. It's very, I don't know. It's maybe the internet is not so wonderful here, but we're doing the best we can. Anywho, so
yeah, I hear the same thing. I don't know why.
I don't know why either. It's just it's bad internet. Tell us about though this idea of, hey, you like 40 gazillion other people said, we should have a podcast. We should have kind of this is pre-COVID. What gave you the idea of like, hey, once a week, let's get some guests on, let's have some fun, and then put it out there in the world? How did the idea start?
Oh man, it's a long story, but I'll make it short.
Because I get bored easily, but go.
I came up with the name, the Mangina dialogues in the shower, and it was too good to just throw away. So I went to one of my friends who's a stand-up comedian, Nick Scopoletti, and said, dude, we need to start a podcast. And it was solely based on the name coming to me in the shower. I previously published a music magazine for many years.
So what was it?
It was called Full Throttle Music. It was in the early to mid 2000s. So, I have extensive experience writing and interviewing and producing stuff. So it just sort of materialized as a silly idea in the shower. And now here we are amidst COVID-19, interviewing people every day.
Oh, so it's a daily thing. It's not even once a week. You do it now.
No, it started out as once a week.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're doing. But for the month of May, since we had so much downtime and people on the other side have so much downtime, we decided to just go for it and interview as many people as we possibly could.
Well, how are you finding?
And we ended up amassing a library of way too much content, and the only way to put it out in a timely fashion was to put it out every single day. So that's what we're doing for the month of May, and we'll see what happens in June.
Now, let me ask, where are you finding your guests? Are they people that you knew from doing the music magazine, or press agents and people throwing people at you? Where are you getting your folks, your interviewees?
From everywhere, from tapping into old resources I had through the music world and entertainment world. My main job is actually, I'm in the entertainment business on the merchandise consumer product side. So I work with all the studios and TV companies as a main job. So I tapped resources there. And then we also run a comedy club here in Connecticut. In South Norwalk. So we hire New York City comedians to come out and headline for us. So we just have really endless amounts, luckily, of people who are willing to come on that, are known, and certainly in the comedy world and also the music world.
Well, what are some of the comedians that you've had on the program? So people who not, these are not necessarily all except Larry the Cable Guy, household names yet, but who are some of the comedians who are up and coming that you've had?
Well, it depends on what you mean by household names. So yeah, of course, Larry the Cable Guy is a household name. Right. But we've had people in the business who have been in the business for 25 years, like Rich Voss, who is very well known in the comedy world, specials all over the place, has been on every radio show that exists. He's been on the show. We had Jackie Martling on the show.
Yes, he's been on the program too.
Stern show for many years and has been a touring comedian. Yeah. Sean Polofsky, who's an LA-based comedian, one of the funniest women in the world, very well known in the comedy world, has been on. We've had Carmen Lynch, who has stand-up Comedy Central specials, Adrian Appalucci, who has a Netflix special. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Are you, I wouldn't say disappointed, but when comedians come on, and your show is humorous, but it's not like they come on and do a set. Are you ever surprised that comedians can be kind of dull?
Correct.
They can be kind of boring when you interview them. You expect them to be hilarious and they're not.
Truthfully, so far we've amassed close to 100 interviews.
Wow.
And I can only think of 2 that have been not the best, that we had to really drag information out of and pull teeth. I'm not going to name who they are, of course. But if you listen, you'll eventually come to find who they are. But really, it's not hard. We take our show from a position of we're talking to old friends over a beer or chicken wings in a bar. So we're not looking for someone to come on and do a stand-up set. There's plenty of that out there. Nobody needs that from us. We just like to talk, current events, what's going on in the world, what's, led them to stand-up comedy, and just other things that they're doing. Most people have something they're promoting, whether it's an album, a special on Netflix or Comedy Central, or just touring relentlessly across the country. Now, of course, that's subsided. But really, I've interviewed people for years, so I don't have that much concern about finding interesting stuff to drag out of people. It's like,
yeah. I want to ask about your day job during COVID. You mentioned that you do promotional materials and marketing licensing stuff.
Yeah.
Are you doing your day job still, or are you furloughed, or are you paid but not working?
No, I'm definitely doing my day job. I started the business with another couple of guys back in 2003, and luckily we built a very successful business.
Oh, it's your own business. I didn't realize that was you are the man, no matter what you're working, whether it's the podcast or your day job or the magazine. You're always like,
I have an entrepreneurial spirit.
Oh my God. Are you hiring?
We actually, funny to say that, we, like everybody else, I'm sure, who tried to get a PPP loan, we were successful. Not everybody else, we were successful in getting one. Not being ashamed of it, we had to lay some people off in the early stages of all of this. But once we got our loan, we went back and tried to rehire everybody who we had to lay off, which wasn't a lot of people. We have about a 50 some odd person company. Probably laid off 10% of that. So not a ton, but enough. And a few of those people decided they didn't want to come back. So, these days with the unemployment stuff, it sort of pays people to stay on unemployment, which I could talk about forever. But for now, luckily we are working. We're still very busy. Thank God.
Yes, I do. Thank God all the time. That's what I do. It's half my life here. I don't know why I just crossed my fingers, which is the exact opposite.
My toes and fingers are all crossed.
Hey, by the way,
everything crossable I have.
Let me break in here. You have a Jewy sort of a name, and you've mentioned on the show that you are a Yid. How Jewish are you?
Yep.
Like your background, were you conservative, reformed, what?
Well, I could answer it this way. My mother, who is Catholic, is the most Jewish person in my household, in my family.
Explain that.
My dad, who was, a Russian Jew, was not in any way religious. I was brought up, I went to temple. I had a bar mitzvah. Both of my sons one of them had a bar mitzvah. The second one is on his way to have a bar mitzvah. But I don't practice any type of religion. I never really have.
But I don't understand. So your dad kind of made the deal with the mom. Look, I want to bring the kids up, have them have the Jewy thing. Do you celebrate Christmas too, or is that not?
Yeah, it gets complicated.
When you were growing up, yeah.
So I grew up celebrating every holiday, Jewish Catholic holiday. I never went to church. I didn't do any of that stuff. But if there was Christmas, we celebrated Christmas. If there was Passover, we celebrated Passover. And to this day, I still do the same with my mother. My kids don't really celebrate, we don't have Christmas tree or celebrate Christmas on Christmas morning. But out of respect to my mother, of course, we do Christmas with my mom. But we do, Hanukkah and Passover. And my wife's family is pretty religious. They are, her mother is from Brooklyn. She's a Brooklyn Jew. Her father he's deceased, but he was from Libya. So their family is definitely religious, not Orthodox, but, fairly religious, you would be coming from a country. and coming here. And then her aunt is from Iraq, so we do a tremendous amount of interesting cooking around the holidays.
No, oh, that sounds fabulous. And by the way, you need anybody to teach your children Hebrew. I don't know Hebrew, but I'll be happy to get a book and learn. So, just saying.
That's fun, because they do best when people don't know things.
Now, let me ask you, in terms of when you decided to do this podcast. By the way, let's also give a shout out to your Nick Scopoletti, the comedian. He is your. You don't do this podcast alone. It's a two-man team, two-person team.
It sure is.
So, when you decided to do it, it was just for poops and giggles. You had a little extra time, right? Before the whole COVID thing, you thought you knew these people would be fun to do. But how much does it? Since I'm Jewish, I care about money. What does it cost you to do this, if anything?
Not a whole lot. I bought some good equipment from the get-go, which with this, I'm not sure.
I shopped at the get-go. It's a good place.
They have good discounts. Not a whole lot, just between what it costs to publish it monthly, which is nominal. And then, we do some promotion, not a ton, right? We, because we're interviewing people that have, recognizable names in the business that we're in, we trade off of that to, really get our listeners and following. We spend some money on promotion. We have a sponsor that provides stuff for us. We've done some live theater shows in the past. We've brought on sponsors to help with the cost of doing that. But, overall, I don't suspect we'll be able to truly monetize for, 6 months to a year. We need to get to certain plateaus, which we're not yet at. So
monetizing would mean what? Would you go on iTunes? I mean, what would the money go towards?
Just more advertising. Monetize. I don't expect this would ever, in any short term, provide an income you could count on. But to be able to get paid some money to do some advertising, to then in turn take that money and advertise more ourselves. I see that coming much sooner than being able to support myself podcasting.
Oh no. I can't. I don't know how Mark Maron did it. He's like, oh, we all want to be Mark Maron. There's only one fucking Mark Maron, and he figured it out. Somehow it worked for him. Everybody else, let me do a show. It'll be entertaining, and then I'll make money for the rest of my life and do comedy. But it doesn't work. Yeah.
Joe Rogan, they say, makes $100 million a year from his podcast.
Wait, what?
Joe Rogan.
Just from the podcast?
I'm not his accountant, so I don't know, but that's what I've read. That's what people talk about. Even if it's 40 million, it's a lot of money.
Even if it's 40 grand, I'll take it. Good Lord. I mean, it's just, getting on with an MP3 and there you are.
Yeah. People used to make fun of it. Now it's definitely it's where the business is. People don't listen to radio anymore unless you have satellite in your car. Everybody listens to podcasts. My kids who are teenagers listen to podcasts. All the people that work for me listen to podcasts. I mean, that's where the entertainment has gone that used to be on the radio. So it's very monetizable, if that's a word. It's just, there's so much content out there, you have to separate yourself.
Well, let me ask you, the choice again to do this pod. I mean, we're Zooming. I see you, you see me. We hear each other, even though we're having some audio issues, but your podcast is an audio thing. Was there a decision made not to make it a video show?
Because most people don't really watch the content besides, 30-second clips on social media, there really was no need to take it to video, right? And video is a much different game. Now with Zoom, you can certainly do this, but, the quality is what the quality is. To really produce good quality, and I don't like really doing something like halfway. If I was going to do it, I want to do it. And to do it with good video content, you have to have, that's where an investment comes into play. You'd have to invest thousands of dollars to create good video, and then release it as a video podcast. But then again, people are still listening to it on audio. They're not sitting at home watching the podcast
man.
In its entirety.
Good point. Well, but people, you seem to be something of a gym rat, as it were, if you'll pardon the expression. So people on their exercycles, they can watch as well as listen. But I don't know. It's hard to tell.
You cut out.
Oh, you didn't hear me?
No, you cut out. Something about the gym.
Well, I'm saying you seem to be also a kind of a exercisey Jimmy person. And I'm saying people like, you say people want to hear things rather than see them, but in short bits, people can be on an exercise cycle looking at the cast rather than just hearing it. I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't see that much of that at the gym, to be honest. I see, people have their phones in their pocket or up on the thing, and they're just listening to stuff or watching whatever is on the monitor while they're on the treadmill. It is something we're thinking about. We just published our first video podcast on YouTube. All of our content's on YouTube also. But, it's only based out of this Zoom thing where one day when we were recording a pod, we just recorded like this. And since we had the video, I was like, instead of putting out the audio, put out the video. It hasn't really seemed to make that much of a difference. It's still the audio.
Is the way. And as you say, if you're in a car, you should not be watching. You should be just hearing the audio. Let me ask you, we talked a little bit about your publishing a music magazine back in the day. Your name, if you go on IMDb, we see some credits for you as an associate producer on things like movies or TV. Or what were some of your positions doing that in media before doing this?
Well, I still do that. So a lot of the stuff that's up there are just small investments I made into some projects as a passive investor. Right. Absolutely no role in many of those projects besides just throwing some money at them to help them get them out there in the world. Through writing my music magazine for many years, I developed a writing style and started writing screenplays with a partner, also different than Nick. And, we reached some level of success. We haven't yet had one of them made. We have made money on them. So there's two different things. Actually seeing it on the screen.
Or what?
People paid us. People paid us for either something we wrote or to write something for them. And then for a bunch of years, I was consulting at a different company, really helping a friend. And they were an entertainment marketing business, and through that I met a lot of different people that had good stories to tell, and I would partner them with a production company to develop docuseries around them. So I created probably 10, 12, 15 docuseries that we ultimately shot pilots for, and different talent agencies shopped them around. And again, had some, I consider it successful. I invested no money and made 12 pilots.
Right. Well, hey, that's half of Hollywood is connecting one person with another person. That's how things get done.
That's how it gets done.
What would you say, not about the check that they wrote you, but in terms of the most views or the most notoriety or the most seen, is the most successful project that you had your fingers in?
Oh, the podcast for sure.
Oh, more than any of the short films or things like that?
Hands down, the podcast. No question. I never, when we started this podcast last July, we were interviewing local Connecticut comedians that are either our friends or people that do shows for us in our clubs. We started open mic nights here in Connecticut also. We've, produced over 100 shows since May of last year. And we were just, having our friends on and just shooting the breeze. And then
somebody just shot the breeze right there. Yeah.
And then once we hit a couple of, lucky breaks with getting guests that were far better than our podcast was, it just started snowballing into where we are now. And I never would have guessed 6 months ago that I'd have Larry the Cable Guy on my podcast, right? Or we interviewed, Anthony Scaramucci. These are some of the most well-known people.
How on earth did you get to the mooch? And I was having contact.
It's just asking questions and getting to the right people. It's, one person puts you in touch with another person who puts you in touch with another person, and then you wind up getting to the person. And that's how I got to Anthony, and he was nice enough to agree. He listened to the podcast, thought it was very funny, and agreed to come on, and we had a great time.
Let me ask you, I know you don't want to say like the two comedians who were the most boring and worst, quote unquote, guests. But it's okay to say who are one or two of your absolute favorite guests in terms of that was the best hour of podcasting that we've done.
Oh, definitely Scaramucci. Definitely Anthony. Hands down that, because because one, it's so far out of the box of what Anthony comes on, and it's just a completely different thing. Still very funny, but we talked about the world, and his experience working in the White House for, one of the most unique people in the world. Good, bad, and different.
Well, let me
perspective
ask
is
you,
probably very close to the same.
Yeah. Let me ask you right there then, to whet people's appetite so that they go and find the Scaramucci interview, the podcast that you did at the manginadialogues.com, But what's something that he told you about the President of the United States that was surprising or revelatory? Anything?
Nothing surprising about him that you wouldn't know being alive in the world, the last 30 years. What was most interesting to me was why he took that job, right? Which, again, you could probably guess it's very ego driven, right? But Anthony is a very well respected, established person in the world of finance. To risk it all, and go work for the type of person that the President of the United States is a bold move, right? And I was most intrigued as to why he did that. And if you want the answer, you'll have to listen.
That's good. At the manginadialogues.com. How much, since in the early stages, a lot of your guests were friends, and people you knew from the comedy club. But now as you expand your range of people that you're talking to, how much research do you and Nick have? We don't really talk enough about him. He's half of your team. But how much research do you do before you sit down with a guest? How many questions do you write out? How much Wikipediaing or their websites do you look at to be comfortable with an hour's worth of conversation?
We try to keep our shows to about half an hour. We've done, you can look at all the stats given to you by Spotify and iTunes and everywhere, and they'll show you when your guests start to drop off. And we found that 30 minutes is our mark, right? So we try to keep everything to 30 minutes. I do a lot relative to a 30-minute show. Nick does some, he does enough, to be comfortable. I'd probably do too much, because I have 10 years experience of interviewing people, and you never know what you're going to get, right? So someone may come on and you might have 20 questions lined up. And out of the gate, they may babble on for any of them. So I like to be prepared for that. I think over preparation, you can't go wrong with over preparing.
Well, but here's the deal. How do you do all the things where do you find the time to have the podcast, prepare for a good interview, and, not talking about COVID times and normal times, and have your day job, which you run, right? And all the other stuff that you're into. When do you sleep?
I don't. I really don't. I live in Southern Connecticut, so I leave my house very early in the morning. I'm in my office by 7 a.m. typically, maybe later. I'm a little earlier in Manhattan, and I leave early, so I can beat the traffic home. So I have most of the evening and late afternoons to hang with my family and do whatever I want to do, go to the gym, whatever. So I have time. I spend a lot of time on the road on airplanes, or did. So I have tons of time in the air commuting back and forth to Los Angeles or wherever I may be going. So I have plenty of downtime to do some of these simple things. Typically we would record, we would publish one show a week. So, we're recording once or twice a week, trying to build a little bit of a library, but it's not that time consuming for the podcast. I can promote the podcast while I'm on a plane, that stuff is relatively simple.
Now, let me ask you, you're just building this podcast and you have your company that's been around for a while. 20 years from now, what do you hope for? What do you see yourself still doing this? Are you the entrepreneur type who might get bored with this after 5 years and then go to a completely different thing to do?
It's interesting because I'm not that young that I can make a million different switches. My main job, I am, hopefully going to continue that for a long time. unless somebody comes in and wants to sweep us off our feet and take us out of our
I apologize to our listeners. We're having some audio difficulties again with the podcast, so you're breaking up, and we missed just what you were saying there. Please say that again.
Oh, where'd you lose me?
Just like 10 seconds ago.
Oh, I was just saying that, I'd love to be able to do the podcast for a long time. It's fun, keeps my mind and creative juices and flowing. And, I love the part of the podcast where I connect with people, and then turn those guests into friends. Most of them I still communicate with on a regular basis. And for Nick, who's a comedian, it's all great for him to continue these relationships where he interviews someone and then he can build on that to possibly help him down the road in his stand-up career. 20 years, I probably hope I'm doing nothing besides chilling.
That's well. How old? You look like late 40s, maybe early 50s. How old are you?
You're actually one of the only people that's ever nailed my exact age. I am in my upper 40s.
All right. Hey, I'm pretty good at this. Trust me. Are you wearing the hat because you got the head like I do, or do you actually have still hair?
Oh, no. I have plenty of hair. I dyed it blue.
Why? Yeah, I see that. Well, you have fantastic hair. I'm incredibly envious. But what the hell?
Yeah.
Hair is something I have. Someone hashtag like blue hair challenge.com sort of thing, and then this is why you did this, or what?
No, I've been locked in a house for 2 months. I mean, what else am I going to do?
Well, let me ask you before we let you go. And by the way, we've been talking to Greg Alprin. See, we're going to let you go after just about half an hour because that's the time when people
smart.
Tired of both of us. But what have been your most enjoyable things to watch on not just your own podcast, but of other people, like if you're Hulu or Netflix? Or what have you enjoyed over the past 2 months with your family or alone?
Oh wow, I don't watch that much television. I watch a lot of news, financial news. I stopped watching CNN and MSNBC and stuff, more so because it intrigues me. I'm by no means a savvy investor, but I watched Tiger King. I mean, how could you not?
Of course, yeah.
I watched Ozark. I watched I watched the show Dave that's on Hulu. It's hysterical if you're into dirty rappers. And I watched.
I had a candy bar yesterday. The rapper was filthy, but yeah.
High Fidelity, which was a take on the movie from the early 2000s, I think.
I remember. Well, no, the movie is older than, but I remember that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a TV show now. They made a TV show, similar concept. Possibly the best TV show I've seen in a long time. Really great show.
Where's that watchable? High Fidelity on
Hulu?
Hulu.
On Hulu.
And of course, be honest, how much time did you spend researching Mr. Skin?
Well, I've been listening to Howard Stern since 1985. So I didn't need to do any research on that. No. To be honest.
Didn't have to tell
but I think you're getting at how much time did I spend on his website. Through the years, of course, I'm sure anyone that listens to Howard Stern has gone to that website just to throw in a actress's name. And what is amazing to me about that guy is not that he built a business out of very short clips of nudity in media. That's secondary. It's the guy has you can name any actress, and I tested him off the air. And I just threw some names out, and he, without even thinking about it, will tell you what movie they were in, when they might have been some level of skin, and what year that was, or if they've never done it. It's amazing. He is a savant.
I want to ask about Laney Kazan, Beatrice Arthur, Molly Pecan, if she ever showed some boob. These are people that I definitely want to see, let me tell you.
He will nail it for you. I tried. I forgot who I asked him. B. Arthur would have been a good one, but that's probably easy because he probably gets that a lot. I forgot who I asked him, thinking I would stump him, and he nailed it. And then I had to go test it, and he was right. It's unbelievable.
The question I would have asked is also how he we know how he makes a career because people subscribe and they pay money to use the website. But does he have royalty things? Doesn't he have to pay all these movie studios and video release companies to use the footage? Because you can't post things on YouTube without giving permission and all these things. What?
You know, that's a very good question and something I didn't think about. And that is actually the heart of my business. So I probably should have thought about the royalty angle of what he's doing. I didn't even cross my mind. Maybe I'll email him and I'll ask him and I'll let you know what he says.
I would be really curious, because how do you know, if you can't use a 4-second piece of music in a rap song without giving Columbia Records $20, how does he get to show, you know, Angelina Jolie pulling her boobies out and just show it? Or is he,
I don't know. I imagine he does have royalty, some type of agreements with the studios to do it, because you're right, he couldn't do it otherwise. I
just wonder about it. But anyway, I hope we don't get him into trouble. And then suddenly someone from the government says, oh, you know, you've been doing this illegally. You owe us $20 billion and we're shutting you down.
Well, 20 years in, I'm pretty sure they know who he is.
They won't admit it, but they'll you know. Anyway, I admit that it has been delightful talking to Greg Alprin, who is part of the two-man. Give a shout out to Nick Scopoletti, by the way. Tell us just a little bit about this guy and what he brings to the show.
Oh, I mean, he brings a countless amount of family-based humor, not family-friendly humor, but humor based on his family. He's a very funny guy. He's only been doing stand-up for 2 years. It's the only reason I'm even involved in this stuff is because I stumbled upon him and built a friendship with him, realized he was really onto something with his comedy. So I have nothing but good things to say about him, his vision for his comedy, you know, the way he presents it. He's a very funny guy. You can follow him on Instagram at Nick Scopes.
Like Scope, like the mouthwash, SCOPES, Nick Scopes.
Nick Scopes
on Instagram. And of course, you can hear Nick Scopes and our friend DJ the Gregalicious on the podcast together, the Mangina Dialogues.com. And it's on YouTube too. But the place to go would be that website. Yes,
it's you can go to our website. It's on every podcast platform you can imagine: iTunes, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Podbean, and I'm sure a million others.
Wow.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
You should live to 120 and have 120 more platforms for your podcast, Mangina Dialogues. I wish you and your family, actually, good health, you know, and being safe and good during these times, much more success in all your endeavors, and years of wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having this interview. It's very fun. I appreciate it.
Likewise.
And have a great rest of your Saturday.
Shalom and good Shabbos to you. Bye-bye now.
Exactly. Shalom and good Shabbos to you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Shalom. All right.
Bye.
I need you, I think, to log out, or do I log you out, or what do I do here? I don't even know. Oh, bye-bye. He's gone. Shalom, my friends. This is Rabbi Sal Solomon. Delighted to have been talking with Greg Alprin of the podcast, The Mangina Dialogues. You're going to want to give that a listen. And we're going to listen to a little bit more of the music that starts their show as I bring Dave Lefkowitz, back to continue his amazing podcasty program, Dave's Gone By. So don't go away. Let's just find the music again. God damn it. Where the hell? Don't tell me I lost it. This would be bad. Oh, no, here it is. I'll play it again.
Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This is the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again with your host Nick Scopes and the Greg Alprin. You know how we do, cause you know we keeping it gangster and silly. Unplugged like a full swung titty. About get kitty, cause you know we down to the nitty and the gritty. And we make shit sound so damn pretty.
Yes, they do indeed. Oh, what a fun, nice guy to talk to. That was Greg Alprin talking to Rabbi Sal Solomon. By the way, if you want to find out more about the Rabbi, his website is shalomdammit.com. That's shalom, DAMMIT, shalomdammit.com. It's a place where you can hear his interviews. They've got links to all the interviews that he does on this program. There's also links to his hilarious TV show that he did on Long Island Cable TV about more than a decade ago. It's called Shalom Dammit, Rabbi Sol Solomon's Peace, Love, and Acid Reflux Hour. That was a good time. And his solo show, his one-man show, accompanied by Richard Shore at the Richmond Shepherd Theater many years back. They recorded it. It's in really good quality. You're going to want to check out Shalom Dammit, An Evening with Rabbi Sol Solomon. All the links, everything that you need is at his website, shalomdammit.com. Well, I'm Dave Lefkowitz, and I am thrilled to be doing the 745th edition of this program, Dave's Gone By. We're calling it ALP Wanted in honor of our guest from moments ago, Greg Alprin. If you want to see our older shows, like for the past 2.5 years that they've been on video, just go to davesgoneby.com. If you want to hear all the shows that we've done, going all the way back 17.5 years, they're all at davesgoneby.com. They're free, they're MP3s, so you can either just stream them on your computer or you can listen without having to download anything. But either way, they're also MP3s. They're there. And you can either watch or listen to the whole shows. We even have a separate archive just of the interviews that we've done. Check it out. Plus, for one of the websites that I really, really love in terms of getting our show out there to other places. I mean, Greg was talking with a rabbi about his show being on iTunes and Spotify and here and there. We're thinking, you know, one of those sites that I like is archive.org. It's this nonprofit organization that is trying to just collect and amass as much 19th, 20th, 21st century stuff in terms of radio shows, TV shows, books, paintings, articles, whatever it is. Just millions of things pouring into this archive at archive.org. And we now have the last 5 years of Dave's Gone By programs and interviews on archive.org in our Dave's Gone By channel. So you're going to check that out. Also, if, as Greg was talking about, if you're an audio person and you don't need the video, you don't want to see this face for 3-4 hours, then the audios of our shows, the last 5 years, you will find at castbox.fm. That's kind of a cool thing because it's specifically for podcasts. It's castbox.fm, and we're you know, slowly putting more and more shows on Castbox, on archive.org. We also have our shows on YouTube, although sometimes YouTube gives us a problem in terms of copyright issues and music, but all these different places, all different ways to find Dave's Gone By, which, by the way, is brought to you in part by the fine folks at Hewlett Minuteman Press, the copy kings of Broadway in Hewlett, Long Island. So they're an essential service. They've been open, albeit short-staffed and not as many hours per week, but Hewlett Minuteman, once they are back and running, which I won't be surprised is maybe a week from now when they start to ramp up again, they're there for your copying, printing, binding needs, to put your logo on a calendar, on an item of clothing, on sporting goods, on balloons and banners. If you need business cards, because everybody's going to be looking for work, do you need business cards? Go to Hewlett Minuteman Press. Are you going to be sending out cards for, well, let's see, we got through the holidays. I don't know, is Shavuos coming up? Maybe you need Shavuos cards for family and friends. Hewlett Minuteman Press is the place. If you have wedding invitations, they're really great at that. Hewlett Minuteman Press. They are the copy kings. And if you tell them Dave sent you, you get 10% off any job, big or small, at Hewlett Minuteman Press. Give them a call, 516-569-5577. Area code 516-569-5577. Hewlett Minuteman Press. They are the copy kings. Well, I always say that I feel like king of the universe when I do this program. It's called Dave's Gone By. And so we have more stuff to do. We've got our Colorado Limerick of the Damned coming up, our Wretched Pun of Destiny. If there's time, we've got Potato News and Storytime. We'll see how much time we have for both of them. But we do, since I've been a theater person for so many years of my life, a theater critic, a theater journalist, a playwright, an actor, a director. I love the theater. And even though there's no theater right now, unless we count digital stuff, I like to talk about things that are theater related in the hopes that Broadway and off-Broadway do come back in the months ahead. So in honor of that, we do our weekly segment. We call it Inside Broadway. And here's the theme. Inside Broadway, a look at theater on and off Broadway and beyond. Brought to you by Total Theater and Performing Arts Insider. Curtain going up. Inside Broadway we go, as we do every week here in the Daverhood. So yes, it's not like I can suddenly tell you, oh yeah, these are the Broadway shows that are going to be opening up. No, they're waiting on Governor Cuomo. They're waiting on the president. They're waiting on the pandemic. Still, June 7th is supposedly the revamp date. It doesn't mean that shows are going to start up again on the 7th, but it may be possible at that point that we might start to see some of the smaller theaters in New York and around the country get people back in the scene shops, maybe to start costuming and designs and directing things and getting actors together in a safe, masked way, perhaps. And who knows, maybe in just a month or two, we'll have theater again, as opposed to maybe after Labor Day, which is much more likely, or some people are saying, you know, big theaters aren't going to be back until 2021. It's still hard to say. June 7th is still that soft reopening target date. All that means is if you had tickets to a show in New York up through June 7th, they're giving refunds and things like that. They're not doing it past that yet. I want to let you know, though, this is kind of great news, since I was talking early in the show about the world exhaling and people feeling a little like light at the end of the tunnel. Well, the Patchogue Theater on Long Island, which is appropriately enough in Patchogue, it's not like the Hotel Poland in Amsterdam. The Patchogue Theater is planning to officially reopen on September 1st. Already, they've begun rehiring staff that they have furloughed. It's kind of like what Greg was talking about with Rabbi Saul with his company, and they're rescheduling the shows that they had from spring and summer, and they're going to be taking some seats out of their 1,100 seat space so they can have more distancing. So yeah, this forward idea, this idea that theater will be back, that people are going to go out again and in a safe way enjoy theater and the world again. Go Patchogue Theater, September 1st, barring obviously a new spike, barring the return of the second wave, as they call it. But if things are the way they look to be going, September 1st, that target date for the Patchogue Theater. Well, some of the awards are in limbo from this past New York Broadway and regional theater season. Some are in, we don't know what's going to happen with the Tony Awards. We know the drama desks have gone online. The outer critics were announced. What about the Pulitzer Prizes? Well, they were given. The 2020 Pulitzers were announced virtually this past week. Deliberations were held via Zoom meetings, which is kind of cool. And they did announce a Pulitzer Prize for drama. It went to a musical. That doesn't often happen. I think Hamilton won, Sunday in the Park with George won, but it went to Michael R. Jackson's musical, A Strange Loop. And this was a musical, kind of one of these meta things, a musical about a gay black man working as an usher in a Broadway show, writing about a musical about a gay black man working as an usher in a Broadway show. Apparently, it was really kind of interesting and cool and fun, and also kind of dark. It debuted at Playwrights Horizons off-Broadway in 2019, and it just won the Pulitzer. So congratulations to Michael R. Jackson. It was dubbed, by the way, the best musical of the year, also by the New York Drama Critics Circle. Finalists, by the way, for the Pulitzer Prize, the also-rans, if you will, included Will Arbery's Heroes of the Fourth, I'm sorry, I've been talking too much, Heroes of the Fourth Turning by playwright Will Arbery, and another musical, Jeanine Tesori and David Henry Huang's Soft Power, which I saw at the Public Theater and quite enjoyed, all about Wang, sort of semi-autobiographical, being asked to write a King and I-like modern musical for a Chinese, well, you had to see it, it was good. Anyway, those were the runners-up for the Pulitzer Prize. Gotta say some farewells now. This is what happens when there's nothing else to talk about. We lose people in the theater. For example, farewell to John Erickson, 93 years old, born in Dusseldorf, but his parents got the hell out of Germany when Hitler rose to power. He starred on Broadway back in 1951 in the hit Stalag 17, which also starred Frank Campanella and Harvey Lembeck, a lot of people you would end up seeing on TV for a couple of decades hence. The Billy Wilder movie that starred William Holden and he also inspired Hogan's Heroes. So it was a big hit in 1951, but the star of the play was John Erickson. And then he kind of left Broadway. MGM snapped him up and he did a bunch of movies. He had a role in Bad Day at Black Rock. He also played a sheriff in the Western Day of the Bad Man. He did tons of television. He starred, he's probably best known for starring opposite Anne Francis, who played this female detective called Honey West in 1950s, 60s TV. That was a kind of a hit back then. He was in the movie Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Nobody knows the movie, but everybody knows the title. And his last role was on the TV series called Crash. He had a guest role in that in 2008. So farewell to John Erickson, star of Broadway's Stalag 17. Also, a big farewell to Roger Horchow, the Broadway producer. He passed away at the age of 91. He got a couple of Tonys on his shelf. He was a producer on the Tony winner Crazy for You back in 1992. He also produced that terrific Kiss Me Kate revival. That got him a Tony. He was a producer on the Broadway musical Curtains, which had a book and scored by Kander and Ebb and featured David Hyde Pierce. That was kind of a fun show. That was in the early 2000s. He also, one of the ways he made his money, made his name, was that Roger Horchow launched the first luxury mail order catalog that wasn't brick and mortar first. It wasn't like having a J.C. Penney's or a J. Crew and then having that store and then launching an online component. No, this guy went online first and had the store, so kind of cool. Farewell to Roger Horchow at the age of 91. And by the way, as far as we know, neither of these guys died of COVID. They just got old. And farewell also to producer Zev Buffman, Israeli-born producer, early life. He served several times in the Israeli army. I mean, talk about something of a hero here. He was in War of Independence. He was in the Six-Day War and the Yom Kippur War. He kept signing up anytime Israel was threatened, so bless him for that. Came to Hollywood as an exchange student in 1951, and by 1960, he was already co-producing on Broadway. He had a flop called Vintage 60 that he co-produced with this fella you may have heard of, David Merrick, not too shabby. In 1962, he produced a show called The Egg, which was a flop, but in 1967, he did Marat Sade, which was, I don't know if it was a hit or a flop, but it was certainly a pretty well-known and important show for its time. 1968, he produced the play Jimmy Shine, which is one of the early big moments in Dustin Hoffman's career. He brought Paul Sills and his Story Theater to Broadway. He produced the Sandy Duncan Peter Pan. And in 1981, for a production of The Little Foxes on Broadway, he had Maureen Stapleton and Elizabeth Taylor. He worked so well with Liz Taylor that he brought her back to Broadway in 1983 with her husband, Richard Burton, to do Private Lives. He also produced the musical about Jackie Robinson called The First. Was not a hit, but it got some fairly good reviews. He did the original Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Now, his last Broadway stint was bringing Angela Lansbury back to Broadway in 2009 for Blithe Spirit. And he was producing not just in New York, but he ran the Jackie Gleason Performing Arts Center in South Miami Beach. He produced shows and ran venues in New Orleans and Florida and Chicago. Big, big loss to the theater and a big farewell to Zev Buffman, age 89, who passed away last week. Well, we have some happier theater news to talk about and close our Inside Broadway segment, but not before I remind you that even with COVID going on, we're still doing this publication. It's called Performing Arts Insider, has been the Bible of Broadway since 1944. This is the place that people in the entertainment industry turn when they want to know everything about what's going on the stages of New York. Let me get my head and the magazine in there. That's a little better. For those of you who actually are looking at the screen. Performing Arts Insider, this is all about Broadway, off Broadway. So, open the pages, and we do this every week. Here's a look when Broadway gets up and running again of all the shows that are currently playing, shows that are about to open or opening in the months ahead, all on one page, and a little map of the Broadway district too. We move on to all the press agents who are handling the shows. These are the folks that you go to. Sorry, that's the wrong page. This is Broadway theaters and their agents. And I'm talking too much and too fast and not thinking. Broadway theaters and their tenants. This is a list of every venue on Broadway, how many seats it has, who owns it, what's currently playing in it, how long it's running, and what's coming in after it. Again, all on one incredibly easy to read and follow page. Then we have a guide to all the press agents. Then we have our day-by-day list of every show currently playing on Broadway, starting previews, opening, and closing. And then we do it, and you can't find this anywhere else, off Broadway. Same thing. Look at this listing. And then we move on. We have a guide to theater-related awards and special events. We also have the heart of the magazine, our comprehensive listing of every show on, off, and even off Broadway. You cannot find that anywhere else. Look at that. Just all the information, who's involved in the show, how to contact them, the producers, the press agencies, the theaters that they're in, the dates of the show, a synopsis, all that information, show after show. You can't find it anywhere else except the pages of Performing Arts Insider. How do you get it? Go to performingartsinsider.com, performingartsinsider.com. Now, this is a hard copy magazine that has been since 1944. We are doing a special thing for subscribers in the sense that we'll also have, the magazine is not on the internet per se. You have to get the hard copy, but you can get it as a PDF file. So if you want to save some money on the subscription and you don't need to thumb through the magazine here, you find it more convenient to be on your tablet or your computer, no problem. No problem. We'll send you the PDF file of the issue. Either way, Performing Arts Insider, the Bible of Broadway. Well, I want to let you know one more piece of Broadway or theater information. It's actually off-Broadway information, and letting you know that the Lucille Lortel Awards were held virtually on May 3rd by the Off-Broadway League, named after Lucille Lortel, the doyenne of off-Broadway, if you will. And by the way, if you are looking up any information about off-Broadway shows from the 1950s onward, the Lortel Archive is a great place to go. It's been online for a few years now. Just Google the Lortel Archive. But anyway, Lucille Lortel Foundation has been giving annual awards for the best of what they feel is off-Broadway. And so this year's 35th annual Lortel Awards have gone to Heroes of the Fourth Turning for Best Play, Octet for Best Musical, and director Annie Tipp won for that show. For a revival of a show for colored girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough, that won for Best Revival. Dana H. won for Best Solo Show. Tim Sanford the artistic director of Playwrights Horizons since 1984, got the Lifetime Achievement Award. And Anna Deavere Smith, the creator of Fires in the Mirror and Twilight Los Angeles, she was given her star on the Playwrights Sidewalk outside the Lucille Lortel Theater over on Christopher Street. So congratulations to the winners and all the people who were even thought about, if you will, for the 35th annual Lucille Lortel Awards. And that, see, I told you we had happier, more fun news to close Inside Broadway.
It's the famous gay white way where the night is bright as day. Ain't Broadway grand?
It's not just a thoroughfare, it's a tingle in the air. Ain't Broadway grand?
It's excitement, it's romance, it's all fun and song and dance. This wonderland. You can be a millionaire quicker here than anywhere. Ain't Broadway grand?
You audition very well, you're in great form, you can tell. Ain't Broadway grand? As you do your last take, we'll call you is all they say. Ain't Broadway grand? Then it happens they pick you, and your dream is coming true, just as you planned. And that opening night is here, and the critics rave and cheer. Ain't Broadway grand? And your name's on that marquee, where else would you want to be? Ain't Broadway grand?
You can keep your 9 to 5, this is where I feel alive. Ain't Broadway grand?
It's a crazy carousel, a fantastic wishing well. One big brass band. Every night at curtain time, you can feel excitement climb. Big Broadway grand.
Oh, grand indeed it is, ladies and gentlemen, here on Dave's Gone By. Yes, yes, this is exciting times, ladies and gentlemen. I thank Potatoes for taking you through. And did you say Phil? Wow, Phil, hello, man.
The other Alfred.
So, well, I mentioned Phil Halprin before, the screenwriter, the filmmaker. He was a guest on this program a few years back, and now we've had Greg Alprin on the program, so this is kind of neat. Anyway, I'm going to transform now. You look beautiful, Daddy. I know I do, Potato, because we are about to do Potato News. Because, you know, everybody, all the news is about COVID and, of course, the murder hornets. But what about news that is of use to potatoes? They're not worried about COVID. They're worried about blight occasionally. What about news that specifically affects our potato friends? We call that Potato News. You say potato, I say potato. Let's call the whole thing Potato News. Good morning. This is Spudward R. Murrow with a Potato News for today, May 9th, 2020. Dateline Belgium. Belgian potato farmers are facing a surplus of some 750,000 tons of crop. They might be destroyed because of measures taken to prevent the spread of coronavirus, according to the sector organization Belgapalm. Potato farmers face the consequences of a crash in the market because since the lockdown, restaurants are closed and demand has slumped. For example, Belgian music festivals usually sell a lot of fries. No! So Belgapalm is calling for the population to make up for the shortfall by eating fries twice a week at home. Belgapalm has announced it will supply 25 tons of potatoes every week to food banks, and in this way, part of the potato stock will still be used. Yeah. Reuters explains, here is why you can't find frozen fries while U.S. farmers are still sitting on tons of potatoes. Get up, your ass hurts. Potato, that's not nice. Shopper Lexi Mayuski is having a hard time finding frozen French fries in Washington, D.C. owing to coronavirus-fueled stockpiling. However, on the other side of the country, Washington State farmer Mike Pink is weighing whether to plow under 30,000 tons of potatoes worth millions of dollars. Billions! They would have become French fries sold to McDonald's, Wendy's, and Chick-fil-A. These incongruent experiences underscore how America's supply chains contribute to food shortages and waste during the pandemic. Frozen French fries sales at grocery stores spiked 78% for the 4-week period that ended April 4th. As such, they can be really hard to find in supermarkets. The main hurdle is the extra large size of food bundles meant for restaurants and institutions that don't have all the FDA information on them that are usually on consumer foods. Kraft Heinz companies or Ida, I know them well, the main producer of frozen fries in the supermarket, is rushing to bolster supplies. Freezers at suppliers' places are full of fries, but they're sitting there because 4 out of 10 restaurants are closed. The National Potato Council said $1 million in potatoes and potato products is clogged in the pipeline. Ouch! Said one food analyst, quote, it's a huge challenge. Nobody was prepared. Nobody could imagine that this could happen. And now, our moment of Heinz worship. Because of its close ties to diners, Heinz has announced an initiative to send $2,000 checks to 500 of the country's diners. To determine which small restaurants will receive a share of the $1 million fund, the brand is asking people to visit HeinzForDiners.com and nominate their favorite neighborhood spot. Says Heinz rep Dahlia Adler, quote, Heinz has proudly stood on diners' tables for decades, so we're proud to support them. Now, last month, Kraft Heinz donated $12 million to communities around the globe negatively infected and impacted by the pandemic. If only they'd been around in 1851 Ireland. It's puzzle time! Bored at home during COVID? Watched every series on Netflix, even the Hindi ones? Heinz has the answer. They have created a 570-piece jigsaw puzzle with every piece the same color red. Says a brand manager, quote, Heinz is known for its iconic slow-pouring ketchup. Well, since everyone has a little more time on their hands, here is a fun, contextually relevant way to give consumers a smile. Yeah. Now a little bit of our nostalgia corner with some historic insights of when potatoes make a difference. This is from written by Lenore Harriman of Greeley, Colorado's museums. Did you know that Greeley's first potato bake was celebrated in October of 1894? And the Greeley Tribune reported that nearly 10,000 people came from as far away as Laramie, Wyoming, and Denver for it. Potato growing had become the leading industry of the district. W.R. McClellan, in his 1917 essay, The Story of the Greeley Potato, recorded that 3 men began growing potatoes here in 1871, though not yet on a commercial basis. Other names and events helped paint the picture of the potatoes' early success. Now, the Great Chicago Fire of 1871 caused massive devastation. Eager to help, potato grower Rufus Clark, described as Colorado's potato king, all hail, began the relief effort by driving a load of potatoes to a grocery store owned by the Salomon brothers, Adolph, Hyman, and Fred Salomon. I knew them well. ran successful groceries in Greeley and Denver. So when Clark's potato load reached the Salomon store, the brothers added more sacks of spuds. Potato King Clark served as auctioneer, and they all raised over $1,000 for victims of the Chicago fire. Did you know that the commercial value of potato growing was something of a fluke? In 1876, Ed Von Goren of Greeley had 20 acres of his wheat crop blown out. So, at the Salomon brothers' suggestion, he planted, wait for it, potatoes. The rest is a history of commercial success and recognition that Greeley potatoes are among the best in the country. The market grew for several years, but was eventually slowed by competition from Idaho and the sugar beet industry. However, the lowly white potato, once referred to as King Spud, it no longer has the esteem it once did, but you can still honor the potato via National Potato Day on August 19th. Little terrible clerical error we've had here. And Greeley's own Potato Day, Saturday, September 12th at Centennial Village Museum. We hope to see you there because the potato deserves your respect. Time for today's potato drawing numbers: 38.7, America, Kurt Vonnegut, 2, Calistoga, 2, Kneecap. Weather, it's getting warmer, so pour your ketchup slowly in case it gets runny. This has been Spud Murrow with the Potato News. Good night and good growth.
This is the potato song, man. The most beautiful song in the entire world. Potatoes, you're so beautiful to me. I love potatoes. I can put ketchup on them.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, you're watching the Dave's Gone By Facebook podcast, your programming over the stream. Joyce just mentioned that there's some people who recently joined. Who joined us?
But I gotta go back now. It was Tony again, Martin, and Robert, and again Phil.
Well, welcome, certainly welcome to all of you, and I hope you're doing well, and I hope that we're helping you spend.
Got a lot of laughs. You got 15 laughs, hearts up, loves.
Yeah, well, potatoes will do that. You know, Spud love. We're feeling it. We're feeling it in the Daverhood. We're also feeling what else we're going to do on the program today, because we've already had tons of fun, but we have a bit more to do on this 745th episode of Dave's Gone By. For example, oh dear. What? Well, I've been putting this off, but there's really no way to put this off any longer. Every week, well, we were doing this for a couple of years, and then we stopped, and we started doing it again.
Yeah.
We make a play on words. That is terrible. That is egregious. That is stomach churning. They're puns, ladies and gentlemen, and you know how awful puns are. We make them even worse. We do a weekly Wretched Pun of Destiny. It's basically a tiny little story that we tell that is capped by a play on words that will just make you terribly upset. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado or a don't, our weekly Wretched Pun of Destiny, this one will be about a co-op. The Dave's Gone By, Wretched Pun of Destiny. Musician Dean Wareham of Galaxy 500 and Luna fame finds himself spending most of his time writing film scores. Tired of commuting to the coast, he looks for apartments in LA. A friend tells him that actress Elizabeth Hurley owns a gorgeous co-op with a perfect one-bedroom available. It's a great deal, says the friend, but be careful, the co-op board is crazy. Still, Wareham makes an appointment to meet with them. They tell him to show up at 4:30 in the morning and wear a plastic raincoat. The singer does, and he's met there by the actress and half a dozen tenants. Before Wareham can even sit down, all the board members take bottles of Heinz ketchup and start spraying him, covering him head to foot. Finally, Elizabeth Hurley stops them, holds out her hand, and says, "Welcome, neighbor." This may sound like a strange method of apartment hunting, but you know what they say. The Hurley board ketchups the Wareham.
We here at Dave's Gone By apologize for bringing you the wretched pun of destiny.
For those of you who missed it, the punchline was the Hurley board ketchups the Wareham. Yeah, I pre-apologized. I warned you. I did warn you. Anyway, I'm letting you know that there's still more of Dave's Gone By. I think we will actually have time for story time, which is so exciting. We're going to have our storybook, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to read to you and to Potato from what? Oh, there it is. From this book. So exciting. But before then, and we even have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned coming up. But before that, one of the cool things is, you know, that we're very grateful for Greg Alprin for joining us in the Daverhood to talk about his podcast, The Mangina Dialogues. Well, Greg joins a very, very long line of friends of the Daverhood. These are people who have been on the program, whether it's a month ago or 10 years ago or 17 years ago. All of these folks, we like to think of them as friends and friends and family. We call them the Friends of the Daverhood. So we kind of like to keep tabs on them. We like to let you know, hey, so-and-so was on this program way back when. They were pushing this project. Now they're doing something else. For example, this is really nice. Jorma Kaukonen, you know him from Jefferson Airplane and Hot Tuna. Jorma Kaukonen is doing yet another solo concert from his Fur Peace Ranch, and it's free. All you gotta do is tune into it. It's on YouTube, and it is tonight. So look for Jorma Kaukonen, Kaukonen. Now tomorrow, if you want a nice concert for Mother's Day, Rita Harvey, and she's actually not a friend of the Daverhood, but Neil Berg is. So he's presenting and producing a concert featuring Rita Harvey live on Facebook on Mother's Day. Go to Neil Berg's Facebook page, B-E-R-G. On Monday, there's going to be a benefit for the Civilians Theater Troupe that will feature our friend Jill Sabule, as well as a lot of other musicians. Go to thecivilians.org for more information about that. Again, all these things are virtual. They're all online kind of benefits. Speaking of benefits, on Monday, the York Theater online will be having a panel. Jim Morgan, who is the artistic director of Off-Broadway's York Theater Company, he will moderate. He's a friend of the Daverhood, as is panelist Karen Mason, the terrific cabaret singer. You're not going to want to miss that. It's Monday because they're going to celebrate, I think, the 20th or 25th anniversary of their production of Carnival, that lovely Bob Merrill musical that I saw. It was a terrific production. So they're bringing back stars of that show to do a panel. Kind of neat. Want to remind you that PBS.org, New York's public television, is showing all 4 Gabriel family plays by our friend of the Daverhood, Richard Nelson, and starring our other friend, J.O. Sanders. You can watch them. I started watching one on
Frankenstein?
Right on the internet. No, that was from the Royal National. But the Public Theater, their production of these 4 plays, it's all online. I hope they're still there. I really want to get to watch more of them because they're really cool. It's a family at the kitchen table having meals and talking and having internal family dysfunctional issues. They're all the Gabriel Plays by Richard Nelson. Go find them at pbs.org. Also, Annie Golden, our recent friend of the Daverhood, she plays the character Madame Floy. Say goodbye to Madame Floy in the musical Bleeding Love. What a title that you can find on Apple Podcasts. Bleeding Love. I know. Want to let you know and remind you that Evan Seplow is the founder and editor of StageBuddy.com. Not sure if they're posting anything new on there since it's a website of New York nightlife, but you might want to check it out.
Maybe virtual nightlife.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if Dr. Demento is adding new Dr. Demento show. He probably could during COVID. We could certainly need it. But all,
listen to it.
Yeah, and why if he, well, oh, that was bad.
What?
I was going to say he could have his wife Sue Hansen help him, but she died a couple of years ago. Sorry, Dr. D.
Well, maybe from the heavens she could symbolically help him.
So I don't know if there's people who, he hasn't put the show together alone.
She could help him through her
spiritually, yeah. But even so, he's got his old Dr. Demento shows going back to the 1970s, all at his website, drdemento.com. Soundsofbroadway.com, run by our friend Stuart Brown. That is a 24/7 Broadway website, Broadway show tune website. Bob Cudmore is still doing podcasts of upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, I think this has really been obviously a banner day for potatoes. I mean, we had Potato News on the show. They shamefully photobombed
several times
while I was indisposed, and they came on camera. Well, now potatoes are more than welcome, as are you, as is everyone, for StoryTime. Now, let me explain StoryTime. A couple of years ago, I was having our Subaru, when we were living back in Colorado, taken into the shop to have the brakes worked on.
Everybody in Colorado has a Subaru.
And everyone has a Subaru.
Once you enter the state, they're like, where's your Subaru?
In fact, if you have a Subaru long enough, the Subaru has to get a Subaru.
I believe so.
Yeah. But ours was a wonderful car, but it needed brake work. So we brought it to the service station, and they had books and things and magazines and newspapers to read while waiting.
Smart.
Yeah. And among the things like Popular Mechanics and the Greeley Tribune and things like that line.
Hustler.
And Hustler and Jugs.
Yeah.
They had several copies of
I
Jugs.
believe he's a Christian man. I don't think you have that.
Oh, you didn't have, yeah. Well, anyway, what they did have was a book called A Cow for Hansel. I'm not kidding.
It wasn't A Cow for Hans, not Hansel.
Oh, it was Hans? A Cow for Hans?
I don't think it was Hansel.
Oh, maybe. It was all about this pre-World War I, let alone World War II, German lederhosen lad whose family was starving to death in rural Germany.
Yeah.
So he, all he wants to do, he will go through hell on high water to get his family a cow, to give milk and then to breed and eat and so forth. So the things that kid has to go through, you shouldn't know from it. But we actually read on the show week after week after week, A Cow for Hansel. And people had a good time. It was just like reading a book, right? Well, what a better time in our current history than to snuggle up with a good book. And I've got one, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it's not A Cow for Hansel or anything like that. But we've got this one. Oh boy, in StoryTime.
Tell me a story, tell me a story, tell me a story. Remember what you said. You promised me, you said you would. You gotta give in, so I'll be good. Tell me a story, then I'll go to bed.
Lum-de-doo, the lum-de-doo. Yes, I'm going to be telling the story. I really did, because I'm a lunatic. I sent away for this to the Idaho
Did you have to pay for it?
Yes. It was cheap.
Okay.
It was in fact, it was surprisingly cheap. This is a place, it's either the Colorado or the Idaho Potato Commission. They have things like this book, they have stickers They actually threw these in for free. They didn't have to,
Oh.
but they gave me this. Isn't this the coolest? This is what I really want. This is the potato truck that goes all around the country for people to celebrate the beautiful potato. And they have a real model. They have like a replica of this for $55 on the website. I may take up a collection on Indiegogo just to buy this for
I'll get it for
the
you.
show.
If you really want it, I will get it for you.
When we move, when we have a place for it. Father's Day, that's right. I'm father to all these potatoes. And look, another sticker. It's real.
Whoa, it's real. The struggle's real.
You'll know it's real Idaho when you see that logo on the potato truck. But they also, I had to pay like $1.50 for this, but worth every penny. Look at it, ladies and gentlemen. The official, oh no, I lost another. Look at this, huh?
What's that one?
The gifts just keep coming. It's a potato
Is he snowboarding?
snowboarding on a French fry.
Of course, that's realistic.
Yeah, that's just, you know,
That's a problem.
what can one even say about that? But
Nothing.
yeah, no. But I'll tell you something. If you're gonna go skiing on a fry, you gotta get up oily. Yeah, that joke had appeal. Okay, we're getting to the Spuddy Buddy coloring book. But it is IdahoPotato.com is the place you can get it too. And literally $1.50, hours of
Wait, they're
delight.
calling. Hold on.
Are you ready, folks? Are you ready, Potato?
I'm never ready.
Oh. Now, Potato, don't fall asleep. This is going to be an exciting book. The first thing they want you to do is to draw your own Spuddy Buddy. Because we all have way too much time on our hands these days. Draw your own. Practice drawing your Spuddy Buddy on this side, and then you can draw it. See, they show you, this is kind of the outline, right? This is the pupa stage of the potato. Here we have where it's already kind of an embryo, because he's got the sweater on. Now, he's got hands, so we're into already the fetal stage. And then you're full blown, his legs and feet, and you have drawn your very first Spuddy Buddy. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that, oh, we have, can you toss me, hon? Can you just reach behind you? I'll show you. He's got the shirt right there. Whoa! Toss him over. Look, behold. I actually drew him from scratch. Anyway, yeah, there's something wrong with me. Okay, so, and remember, if you get stuck, look at Spuddy Buddy on the front of your coloring book. So if somehow you get wedged in a doorway, this will help you. Yeah. Is it me, or did they remake the front cover of the
Let me see. Oh, he's happy.
of the original cast recording of Most Happy Fella? That's exactly what that is.
He's happy.
How do you color your Spuddy Buddy? Okay, Spuddy Buddy's body, I like that, Spuddy Buddy's body, is Idaho Potato Brown. Darn right, Skippy. Spuddy Buddy loves his red sweater, of course. Color the state of Idaho in yellow. And I'm always kind of like Bob Ross. I'm always deciding what kind of yellow. Do I want to do lemonade yellow or front of my underpants yellow? And I go with the underpants. Spuddy Buddy's hands are also Idaho Potato Brown. Potato Brown. Spuddy Buddy's favorite sneakers are black with white tips, which is really, he wears Nikes.
Yeah, he does.
It's more expensive than 20 of these potatoes.
He likes Nike.
And remember, if you get stuck, look at Spuddy Buddy on the front of your coloring book. Let's move on. Where, and I ask you this, hon, where do the best potatoes come from?
Idaho.
Yes! Idaho! There it is. Look at it right there. Yeah. Idaho once charged me $300 and didn't do anything. Anyway,
What was that?
look at the cute little fish. Ship. I don't know what would it have to do with landlocked Idaho is beyond me. But anyway, you can draw Idaho if you want to, but who would really want to? Spuddy Buddy Look at this. Look at this. This is the creation myth. Spuddy Buddy plants a seed potato, which is just what? It's like a piece of potato, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I guess that's how potatoes are made.
Yeah.
And then you've got, oh, and there's basically, to potatoes, this guy's Hitler. He's planting, everybody's all happy, I'm gonna make some friends. This is the guy who said, okay, I'm gonna get you all in one place, crowd you all together, and then we're gonna kill you, cut you up, use your peels for lampshades, and then bury you. That's but he's smiling, he's happy. Moving forward, children, are you enjoying this book? The potato plants grow big and strong in Idaho's soil. Look at this. Look at it. And meanwhile, you've got Potato reading a book.
Little Richard died.
Oh.
It says,
or maybe I should say, woo!
Let me see.
Yeah.
It said, Little Richard, founding father of rock and roll, fervent shrieks, flamboyant garb, and joyful gender bending. He died, he was 87. The cause is unknown.
It's interesting that we talked about what's her Molly, the Molly House, since one of his songs was Good Golly Miss Molly. Yeah. Yeah, wow.
I just saw that, David.
Oh, no. Well, he's sort of the last.
Do you think it's COVID?
Does it say? Well, he was old. But he was kind of that last man standing from the night. Oh, no, Jerry Lee. Yeah. We still have Jerry Lee Lewis. But it was amazing that these folks lived so long into our era. I mean, I'm breaking from the StoryTime thing for a moment. And by the way, it's just after noon Eastern time. You're watching Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling, adorable wife, Joyce. It's our 745th episode of the program. We've been calling it ALP Wanted. We're not done yet. I know we go from 9 to noon or thereabouts. We're in our thereabouts portion of the show. But it was kind of great, even in the 2000s, that we still had Fats Domino, man, and he survived Katrina, for crying out loud. He was standing on the roof of his house, and then he was still rescued and saved. We still had Johnny Cash for a bit. We had I mentioned Fats Domino. We had, who were the others of that era? Carl Perkins died early, and so did Elvis. But we had just these people from the 1950s because they started as teenagers. And so they lived, and they were around and lasting much longer than a lot of our 1960s and 1970s music icons. But Little Richard was one of them. And who am I forgetting? Ray Charles lasted a very long time. And, oh, forgive me. Shame on me. Well, I'm forgetting some of these other names, but B.B. King lived a very long time. So it was great that we still had Little Richard. Chuck Berry lived and was performing up until he was about 90. And then we started to drop off, as they naturally would. But we still have Jerry Lee Lewis, and he was still making music up until recently.
The company singer died, Brad.
Who, what?
Bad Company singer, Brian Howe.
Oh, Brian, how did he die? But no, farewell to Little Richard. See, back in the day, before this whole Facebook thing, I would have gone on terrestrial radio or college radio, and I would have played like 4 Little Richard songs. But you know what they are. You're gonna have to put them in your head. It's Good Golly Miss Molly and Loggy Miss Claudie and not Great Balls of Fire. What are some of the others? Some of the classics. I mean, he was important in a way. He brought a certain wildness, a certain incredible freedom to rock and roll. This feeling that it's not a concert of classical music in a music hall. You're not going to sit down and play the keys. And if you're fervent, you're just going like this. It's still not jumping up and down. It's not making wild man noises and going and having a bouffant hairdo and wild mustache and just creating music that makes you get up and move. I know James Brown really pioneered that as much as anybody else, and a lot of the R&B singers. But Little Richard Penniman, he was one of the great bridgers of that gap. Elvis, sure, Elvis excited white teenage America, but Little Richard made more exciting rock and roll music than Elvis ever did. Elvis made some great songs, no question about it. But you put on Roll Over Beethoven and songs like that, you feel it, you hear it. It bypasses the head and goes directly to the body. And you know, Richard had his issues, I'm sure. I mean, I think he became a preacher for a bunch of years, even though he was obviously a non-heterosexual person. So whether that collided or whether he was fighting himself over what he wanted to be and what he really was, whatever. What he was a great, important part of the cornerstones of rock and roll music. So farewell to him. Shall we, let's go on and do a little bit more of our Spuddy Buddy coloring book on StoryTime on this episode of Dave's Gone By. So we've left it in case you've missed. In case you want to get caught up in the story, we figured out how to draw our own Spuddy Buddy. We've realized that they come from Idaho, and that our plants that the Spud has planted start growing. So you don't really have to do anything but kind of look after them while you sit in the sun and read. And then what happens next? Spuddy Buddy harvests the crop. Look, new family. And of course, the death truck waits nearby. Now, the creepiest cartoon in the whole damn book. Spuddy Buddy carefully inspects all the potatoes.
I can't find my phone.
Which one?
No, it's not that one.
Joyce says, your iPhone's here. Don't worry. Anyway, is this messed up or what? Is this kind of creepy or so? You got like potato using one of his main. Yeah, oh man, this guy's got glaucoma or something. I know potato. Plus all the weird chemicals here. This is not going. This is Mangala's lab essentially right here. And then they are sent off to the market. Bye-bye, friends. See you later. As if. Some of the potatoes are frozen, some go into boxes, and some are just left the way they are. And this idiot is just, they've been turned into flakes. Some of them are frozen to death and cryogenically saved for later. Yeah, I don't care. I'm happy. They haven't skinned me yet. Now, how does your mom know that she is getting real Idaho potatoes? It's a question. It's a real question. The answer is, well, Idaho potatoes taste great. What the I know potato, I know. I'm sorry you have to see this, but little white children, right? These are exactly the kinds of children that you see in those cartoons where they put them side by side and one is different from the other, or by 6 ways, and you have to figure out what's been changed. Anyway, there they are, a little pat of butter. And then to close out this magnificent story, IdahoPotato.com, which is all well and good, except why is he being surrounded by sugar beets? Makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. This again was a certified 100% Idaho potatoes book grown in Idaho, courtesy of the Idaho Potato Council, IdahoPotato.com. Well, potato, that story, it had poignance, it had a little bit of humor, it had some scary elements. That I think he's gonna. I vodka'd myself. Oh, potato. Yeah, he did. All right, the show is almost over. I will take care of it in a couple of minutes, okay? All right. Anyway, show is almost over, but not quite over. We have a couple minutes more of Dave's Gone By left. And you know why we do? Well, because we've done almost everything, but not quite everything. We are a cultural program. We're not just about silly comedy and me dressing up in costumes. And we're not just about talking to interesting people about what they do. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we're also about art and culture, and the highest level of culture, poetry. Ladies and gentlemen, every week we try and do a Colorado limerick of the damned. And this is where I do a poem about some town or county or municipality in my former home, Colorado. It's a 5-line poem, so you don't really have to think too hard while listening to it. And because it's a limerick, they tend to be crude and vulgar and terrible. So I apologize early. Get the kids out of the room. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our Colorado limerick of the damned.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 would end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick. Rocky Mountain.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our Colorado limerick of the damned. This is, as I said, I started doing these, probably 3-4 years ago now. I'm just writing these short poems about all the different places in Colorado. Today, well, let's not be too hasty. Or let's, because today's place is Hasty, Colorado. It's a tiny little town in Bent County, wherever the hell that is, in southeastern Colorado, population of about 150. It's got a post office, that's about all it has, and it's near a reservoir and state parks. So, like so many places that we talk about, nobody's heard of it, but if you're passing through on the way to Vail or to all these other beautiful places, it's kind of beautiful in itself. There's hiking, there's camping, there's trails, and so forth. But Hasty, Colorado, for our Colorado limerick of the damned. There was a young woman from Hasty, whose skin was all pimply and pasty, yet time and again she pleased the same men, 'cause goddamn her pussy was tasty. Yes, that's our Colorado limerick of the damned. Send your comments and complaints to davesgoneby@aol.com. davesgoneby@aol.com. You can also post messages here on our Facebook page, Dave's Gone By. You can also please do follow me and the show at our Twitter site, Radio Dave 2. Radio Dave, the number 2. I also want to remind you one more time that our archives are going up on archive.org. We have a Dave's Gone By page there. We also have a Dave's Gone By page at castbox.fm, castbox.fm. If you particularly want to listen to the show as a podcast, that's a great place to go. But really, you'll find everything you need, all the archives, davesgoneby.com. I want to remind you that Rabbi Saul Solomon's website is shalomdammit.com, and his Twitter feed is at Rabbi Saul Solomon. You can also email him, shalomdammit@aol.com is the way to do that. Well, I want to thank so much to our guest in the Daverhood, Greg Alprin. Remember, you can find him and his podcast all at the manginadialogues.com. The Mangina Dialogues, MANGINA, manginadialogues.com, because he's got about 50 or 60 shows now archived. It's taken us like 17 years to archive like 700 shows of Dave's Gone By. This guy's got like 50 shows under his belt, and he just started a year and a half ago. But anyway, good luck to him and to Nick Scopoletti, I think was the name, Scopes. And thanks again to DJ the Gregalicious, Greg Alprin, for being with us in the Daverhood today. Well, we actually have covered everything, and it's only 12:15. It's quite amazing. So, hon, is there anything else we want to bring up? Anything else we want to talk about? We want to give a shout out? We do. Oh, potato. Oh, we're being potato bombed again. Yeah, I'm bombed.
I think it's bombed. You guys know the difference.
How about a shout out to your major?
Oh, yes, happy Mother's Day, Mom. Thank you for producing me.
Yeah, I should be more grateful to your mom than you are for making the wonderful Joyce that I love.
She kept me for a whole like 6 to 7 months in the womb. Yeah.
Yeah, she was born prematurely.
I thank you to the incubator, my second mother, where I lived for several months.
Yeah, she popped out of her mom. There's like one arm, a liver. It all grew in when she was in the incubator.
I borrow some parts. I'm still waiting for some on Amazon.
Oh, can you get more boobs?
I'm still waiting on Amazon. They have a boob shortage.
Oh, damn.
We're filled with boobs.
We ordered an extra vagina, but it's spoiled. And,
that's disgusting.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You've been watching Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz. I want to thank you. I want to, what else do I even need to tell you? Stay healthy. And gotta give love to my Aunt Esther, who is the mom of 2 children.
Yes, Bonnie, Stephanie, Marnie.
Right.
Wait, okay, let's do Esther, Deborah, right? There.
Her daughter, yeah.
Deborah. Then you got to do, of course, your mother, my mother. Then we did Bonnie, and then there's Stephanie, and then there's Marnie.
Deborah, right.
No, that's the other side.
Yeah.
There's the Stephanie, Marnie, and then everybody else. You have a lot of cousins and so.
Oh, absolutely. So a big happy Mother's Day to them, and of course to my wonderful mother, Brenda. I never call her that. It's weird to say her name, but love you, Mom, and thank you for for putting up with me and putting up with all of this for the past year and a half while we're in New York. And who knows for how much longer. We may never get out of this room for months on end. But love you, and thanks so much for breeding me, for
whelping,
for pushing me out of your vagina.
Oh God, David. That's my favorite, the sketch that you and Joe reenacted your birth. It's my favorite all-time sketch.
Yeah. So anyway, and happy Mother's Day to all of you. Flowers and potatoes, because potatoes do flower. Yeah. Anything else you want to say? Anything else we want to talk about? Have a little time if we want, or are we good?
No, I'm tired, baby. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you look very handsome in your shirt.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a beautiful shirt.
Well, it's been a beautiful time talking with all of you. Just have a good week.
It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.
The Daverhood. So enjoy as best you can. Be safe when you go out, and be safe when you stay in. And gone by.
Dave's gone by. Dave's gone by. Dave's gone by. Dave's gone by. Dave's gone by.
And meeting, yes? And meeting?